Part 52. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 513. The speculation about Oro made Jia Yan feel a shadow in his heart. However, this does not seem to have a direct impact on his current life. No matter where on Earth today, no relevant information has been found about Oro, the Asta man. However, Jia Yan did not relax his vigilance at this time. The possibility that such a terrifying scientist could still be alive on the Earth at this time was definitely an extremely terrifying thing for him. Jia Yan at this time could not maybe ignore it. Amidst the extremely busy affairs, several powerful Earth City experts were dispatched one after another. They conducted some inspections in some suspicious places on the Earth, even in the sea. However, when news came one after another, Jia Yan felt a little relieved and found that there was no trace of this Asta man anywhere on the Earth. So is this guy still alive? No. He must still be alive. Such an almost monster existence cannot possibly die. After Jia Yan confirmed some information, he became even more fearful of this powerful scientist. It's just that today's Earth cannot change its policy because of this character who may or may not still exist. Therefore, Jia Yan can only continue to carry out the huge change process of the Earth according to his own ideas while being more vigilant. As soon as 4 months have passed, the Earth has undergone an incredible change. The metal monsters that have been raging for 10 years have caused a depression on the surface of the Earth. In just 4 months, there has been a fundamental change. Not only has there been an incredible change in the lives of people on Earth, but also in the emergence of those huge building complexes and the start of construction of factories covering a wide area. These changes unfold in a geometric form. Some humans even recorded the changes in these 4 months. The records clearly show that the entire Earth can be seen intuitively. From the previous apocalyptic scene with no clothes on, it has suddenly grown into a state that has basically returned to normal. The era of order actually happened in just 4 months. What's more, because the giant Mosquito Earth Alliance has issued regulations for normal life, people on Earth have been able to gradually resume their previous lives. In the opinion of many people, if we do not immediately comprehensively restore the previous laws and regulations, as well as the way of life 10 years ago, because if the changes are too fast, then human society will not be able to withstand such a huge change and may become chaotic. Even crash. Of course, there are precedents for these things, but these precedents do not appear here on Earth, but on alien planets. Here on Earth, it seems that there is no fundamental change because of Jia Yan's worries. Even as soon as the 4-month date arrives. Boom 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 boom. All over the Earth, in human settlements, under the incredible gaze of all the people on Earth. The huge metal behemoths breathing flames finally began to fly on this day. These metal monsters, from the roofs of the factories, are launched crazily into the sky through the thrust of the launchers. This is the result of 4 months of hard work by the people on Earth. It is also the result of the joint efforts of the giant mosquito family and the people on Earth. There are more than 300 aircraft of various sizes, soaring into the vast space. For people on Earth, this is an incredible miracle, and it is something they are extremely proud of, because everything that the Earth shows today is the result of their efforts, and it is this generation of people on Earth that has achieved greater success. The display of hope. The re-established TV media one by one began to explain all this with tears to the few families who own TV media, as well as various factories and institutions. This is an authentic made-on-Earth spaceship. Every part has been made by countless people on Earth. Everyone's eyes are filled with tears. After all, everyone, even some of today's senior officials, must have experienced a day of hard work a few months ago. So they were all extremely excited. Look, that's the spacecraft from Factory 420 where we worked. The electron separators on it were made by the workshop where I worked. I didn't expect that they could actually be used and that they could allow such a huge spacecraft to fly into the sky. What are you talking about? It's just a 20-meter spaceship that can carry a payload of only 5 tons. The spacecraft that took off from our 201 factory is a 50-meter spaceship with a payload of 3 tons. 10 tons, can you compare? Earthlings on the ground are extremely excited about the organizations they have worked for before. You must know that those are spaceships. Things that were extremely rare on Earth before, but now each of them has participated in it and made such a terrifying batch of reusable spaceships. It's great. 350 spaceships, with the efforts of more than 1,000 factories all over the Earth, were finally successfully launched today. In the deep space of the universe, a huge dark creature looked quietly below. The light spots were like fire-breathing monsters, rising one by one into space. The scene is like thousands of dragons soaring and countless flames. Perhaps in the eyes of other aliens, they are just extremely crude primary aircraft, but what they carry is the crystallization of the sweat and efforts of all intelligent creatures on the planet. A spirit. There is no way to count the blood, tears, and stories involved in more than 300 spaceships. A fire-breathing spaceship reaching a height of 100 meters flew and came to the Big Mosquito. This is a place about 1,000 kilometers away from the surface of the Earth. Among the 350 spaceships of various sizes, there are a total of 20 simple spaceships with a length of 100 meters, a total of 100 ones with a length of 50 meters, and the rest are small ones with a length of 20 meters. The technology they use is extremely simple. If compared to aliens, not to mention the elite space battleship level products, even compared to the most basic cargo-carrying spacecraft, it would be too crude. But even so, they are already the limit of what can be achieved on Earth today. To make these spaceships, most of the rare metals on the Earth are used, especially because of the metal monsters and the finished special metals made by those metal monsters. Otherwise, it would be impossible to manufacture them. Moreover, even if the models of these spaceships cannot be compared with the existing alien spaceships, they are perfect imitations of an ancient alien spaceship, so in terms of performance, they are not so backward. At least compared to previous Earth rockets, its performance is absolutely explosive. Sir, the remote control system has started normally, and the cargo on the spacecraft is also normal. This launch is perfect. The Noodle Man's faint voice came from the communicator, but now there was still a hint of excitement in the voice. Very good, let's unite these spaceships into formation and start dividing the work. Jia Yan looked at the 100-meter spaceship next to him. He could recognize that most of the surface of this spaceship was still the shell metal of metal monsters. After all, compared to these mining machines, the Earth City scientists he brought, it is impossible for them to be as good as metal monsters in the purification of metals, and they have special skills. Thanks to the contributions of the metal monsters, the designs of these spacecraft can be bolder and their performance has been improved. Hearing Big Mosquito's command, the Noodle Man over there responded. More than 300 spaceships first gathered around Big Mosquito, like a huge fleet waiting for inspection by the head of state. This was the first time for Jia Yan to see such a huge flying fleet. Although he had seen more advanced space battleships before, now that he saw this primitive spaceship fleet that he had created, he finally had a smile in his heart. Meaning, he grabbed most of the potential on the Earth in one breath. Although he can still continue to explore the next things, it is no longer something that can be done in a moment. Therefore, we must maximize the use of this fleet in our hands now and make larger scale preparations for the next 8 months. Everything is to prepare for the resistance of the coming Asta people's exploration ship. When the Mosquito inspection was completed, Noodle Man, who had been in a spaceship for a long time, operated all the spaceships and flew away towards the moon not far away. The first step will be to mine certain unique metals on the moon. At the same time, we will train local spacecraft pilots on Earth. The second step is to prepare the spaceship for modification and make a series of arrangements towards the place where we are prepared to deal with the enemy. There is a third step, a fourth step, to be honest, Time is still too tight, too tight, too tight. After thinking about this, Big Mosquito still felt a sense of oppression in his heart, constantly attacking him. On Earth, there is no way to retreat from the great joy that all factory spaceships are fully launched. In particular, Big Mosquito opened a corner of a spacecraft as a specialized photographic equipment and a channel for high-power information transmission to deliver messages to the newly formed media on Earth, so that all spacecraft information can be completely transmitted to Earth aspect. The impact caused by the launch of this kind of spacecraft is simply an even greater improvement. There is no one who doesn't watch these news, especially when the pictures show the hulls of the ships that they have paid for. Every person on Earth has tears in their eyes. After all, they have worked hard, and now these spaceships have taken off normally, and none of them have when something goes wrong. This kind of pride cannot be understood by anyone who has not experienced it personally. Before the people on Earth could recover from these joys, another even more shocking news about these spacecraft appeared. The giant Mosquito Earth Alliance actually posted a notice to recruit future spaceship pilots. This is simply a huge surprise. The people on Earth boast that their knowledge and quality are far inferior to those of the giant Mosquito aliens. They also think that the construction of so many spaceships, even if the giant Mosquito clan is short of manpower, must have allowed those with high intelligence to carry out the work. Flight operations. But they never expected that these spaceships would actually be open to recruitment for people on Earth, and they would have to select pilots. Everyone on Earth couldn't believe it, but instinctively, they swarmed towards the registration point. You know, that was the pilot of the spaceship. It is foreseeable that with the help of the giant Mosquito clan, the Earth will successfully enter space in the future, this mysterious and vast land full of temptations. Therefore, not only that everyone on Earth is full of yearning for that mysterious place, but for the sake of the future, everyone will definitely want to become a driver. Of course, what they don't know is that it's not that Big Mosquito doesn't want to use the intelligent brain to replace humans to drive the spacecraft, but there are too many uncertainties in the intelligent brain. These are things that aliens have verified through their bloody past. Jia Yan has also wondered before about the intelligence of alien brains. It is really incredibly powerful, but it is rare to see the intelligence controlling battleships or even warships. As for the commercial spaceships, after getting to know them, I realized that there were so many so-called incidents that had happened before, which finally caused the spacecraft operated by the brain to disappear, as well as some unique industries. Naturally, Jia Yan would not allow such hidden dangers to arise, not to mention the development of intelligence brains, which his own scientists could not master, so he still chose to select drivers among the people on Earth, and there would even be a battle in the future. Of course, the spacecraft pilot's plan can only be carried out after the time is right. I want to sign up. How can it be possible for people on Earth to fly into the universe without me as a witness at such a historical moment? Nonsense, it must be me as a driver. You must know that in the previous factory test, I was first in the group. When it comes to grades, who of you can compare with me? I was a top student 10 years ago, number 1 in the province. This was a male who spoke, but his speech was unanimously despised by everyone. Everyone knew that, the knowledge we had 10 years ago is completely different from the knowledge we have in factories today. In addition to the enthusiastic registration of ordinary people, some unique people also had ideas that were ready to take action at this time. Prince, as the prince of the Big E royal family, you cannot put yourself in danger. God knows if those pilots will be safe. Besides, the giant Mosquito family will have to fight the so-called aliens in the future. If you participate in it, it will definitely be extremely dangerous. In a relatively prosperous residence on Earth today, a stout middle-aged man pleaded with another young man who seemed to be in his 20s. Although the young man was only in his 20s and should not have received an education in an era when metal monsters were raging, his appearance was gentle and elegant, and he seemed to have received an excellent education. There is no need to persuade me. I have made up my mind. I have even learned most of the Chinese language. This is an important breakthrough for our royal family to establish a good relationship with the giant Mosquito clan. Besides, I am still so young. Do you want me to become a member of the royal family who has only a false name and no role, just waiting to die? No. Even if I die, I will become a spaceship pilot. This is an important opportunity to bloom the brilliance of our royal family. Speaking of this member of the royal family drank up the red wine in his hand. You know, this was an era when the metal monsters had just finished raging. He was actually able to drink red wine, which shows that his life experience was extraordinary. In other places, the news about the spaceship pilot is spreading like a plague. At the headquarters of the giant Mosquito Earth Alliance, the heads of countries are extremely excited at this time. They know that the final strategy of each country may lie in this. You know, the resources of the Earth, after some manipulation by the giant mosquitoes, are definitely a lot less than before. The reason why people on Earth can live so well now is because of the advanced technology of the giant mosquito family, which has cultivated many kinds of excellent species, food, etc. But the future of the Earth is definitely in the universe. How could any country miss this opportunity? The giant mosquito clan does not accept informal appointments, nor does it accept any preferential treatment. Quick! Inform the country and gather all educated young people. Although there is no academic qualification restriction for registration, having quality is always an advantage. It is not yet knowing the specific requirements. If we can do our best to get the most seats in the driver's seat, it is not impossible for our country to revitalize and even shine brighter than before. China has made big moves, and we must hurry up. We must know that it is the universe, with infinite space and unlimited resources, all waiting for our arrival. We must not be slow. Perhaps Jia Yan himself did not think of it. Regarding the announcement of recruiting spaceship pilots, please actually caused such a big stir. In fact, it's because his perspective is too high. If he can change his mentality back to his previous role as an Earthling, he will know the benefits and future prospects contained in it. But of course, the more the recruitment fights, the better. Jia Yan is only worried about not having enough qualified Earth pilots, not that there will not be enough spaceships. Because you have to know that he controls the resources and platform of an entire galaxy. This kind of thing often has the hardest start at the beginning. It has integrated all the intelligent creatures on the entire Earth, and built a primitive spaceship fleet at an extremely terrifying speed. It has such terrifying potential. How can maybe it won't develop in a big way in the future? We need technology, and we need population and population. The future development will definitely be an earth-shattering leap forward. Under the leadership of Big Mosquito, the people of Earth finally walked out of the starry sky. However, some of these applicants may not be what the Big Mosquitoes want to see. Not only those who have criminal records, but also two people who are not so popular with him are also among the registrations this time. Haha, senior addict, I have already signed up, and the testing instrument actually reacted to my power. There was a red alarm, but I haven't used half of my power yet. Oh. It seems that you still have a chance. I will try it tomorrow too. I hope they will not impose age restrictions. However, are there any benefits for us to become drivers? Just to be in this giant mosquito's system? Are you here to work for him? You must know that he is not that friendly to us, and if he is discovered, it will be extremely dangerous. In a dark place, two sneaky figures had a meeting. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 514. The dialogue they only saw was also extremely terrifying. What? You're afraid? If you're afraid, just pretend that I didn't tell you. In fact, I have already found the weakness of the giant mosquito, and there are also some clues in the data of the spacecraft. My plan it's not as simple as becoming a driver. The detailed plan is like this. A small sound came slowly. After a while, the man's voice finally ended. So, what do you think of this plan? You actually came up with such an idea. It's too whimsical. But, I just like your plan, so I'll do it. After meeting in this dark place, the two sneaky figures chatted for a while and then secretly disappeared again. And no one knew what the content of their conversation was. However, the Earth's affairs are not something that these two little humans can have an impact on if they want to destroy or attack it now. After they said this, the globe was a scene of excitement, with the celebrity and the crowd excited. It's not that the people on Earth today are brainwashed or something, but that they have indeed gone through those hard processes, and now that good results have emerged, they naturally feel the same and feel sad. What's more, the 4 months they worked in the factory were not just for the launch of the spacecraft. 4 months ago, no one would believe how the entire Earth is changing now, and no one could even imagine it. The changes brought about by the big Mosquito are really huge. Those machines, which resemble metal monsters but have absolutely no identical shape, began to help the people on Earth build houses. They worked extremely fast and the construction process was very orderly. Technical and quality problems in the project could almost be ignored. 30 to 50 metal machines can roughly build a 10-story building overnight. However, few houses on Earth today are so high. The Alliance government wants to make the remaining humans live a better life. So the houses built are basically single-story houses. The living conditions are like suddenly going from hell to heaven. Even the study of the body structure of Earthlings has been studied for a period of time among the scholars in Earth City. Most of them are complex talents, so it is extremely normal for two of them to have certain medical knowledge. After studying some information and comparison, some drugs that are effective for people on Earth have also begun to be used. The death population will be greatly reduced. However, it is not a good thing for the people on Earth to suddenly enter a comfortable environment. After all, a race without competition and survival pressure will naturally perish. It's just that the people on Earth lived too hard in the past. Now, after consulting the big Mosquito, the Alliance has decided to let the people on Earth live a fairly good life. There is still a long time to come, and the future of the Earth will definitely have to introduce a competition mechanism. No one thought that a driver recruitment matter would start competition and secret competition among most people on the planet. Many young people came to the registration point. For the spaceship pilot quota of only 7,500 seats, no less than 55 million people came to the registration point across the Earth. It was like an incredibly huge gathering. First, let's test your physical fitness. Without good physical fitness, you can't possibly fly a spaceship with extremely strong overload capacity. Then there is the flexibility of the body. There are thousands of control buttons in the spacecraft. The pilot needs to remember the functions of all the buttons, and he must also train his finger flexibility to the highest level. Don't worry. Most of the 7,500 seats are ordinary jobs. If you are willing to do the dirty work, it is still possible to become a member of the fleet. After entering the registration point, some matters about the spaceship will be introduced in detail, and people will know that the fleet cannot fly just by having a pilot. Among them, there must also be many positions such as logistics, surveying, early warning, ranging, etc. Although the pilot may still refer to a few specific people, even in an emergency, 1 or 2 people may be able to lift a minimum 20-meter spacecraft into the air, but with complete configuration, the load personnel of each ship must be there will be no less than 10 people. However, with a population of more than 50 million at each registration point, the competition for these positions is still extremely fierce, and only a small part of them can be selected. Huh? There is also a reserve force. Good guy, the reserve force actually has a size of 30,000 people. Even if you can't become a regular spaceship member, there is still an option to be a reserve force, and there are even free housing allocations. Some people keenly discovered that at the registration point, in addition to choosing to compete as regular drivers, there is also the option of reserve service. However, the remuneration of reservists is far worse than that of regular spaceship members, and may not be much better than that of ordinary working people on Earth, so this has discouraged many young people from participating. Of course, with the huge population, there are still many young people who are extremely yearning for the universe to sign up. Unexpectedly, the registration work was not that fast. It even almost stalled for a day or two because of the huge crowd. Finally, after 3 days, the registration work was completely completed. Okay, the next step is screening. Noodle Man gently signed his name on a report, and then threw it aside. For the people on Earth, the exciting trend of applying for drivers was just an insignificant part of his daily work. Ms. Daphne, if you put me in this position, it will kill me. After working for a period of time, he moved his body with a wry smile. His noodle-like body seemed to be even thinner at this moment. The existence that was originally not low in strength had become thinner in the past few months. At first, the Noodle Man was a little grateful to Daphne for asking him to assist Jia Yan, but now, he is full of wry smiles. This is not a job worth being happy about. You have to know that the Earth can have 30 people. Hundreds of millions of people. Although Big Mosquito used his personal reputation and support to help him with a lot of work, facing the remaining things, he had to create and pay attention to each item, especially the big explosion plan some time ago. Things are changing every day, and every day's work must have the correct policy, such as the working direction of a factory that day. If one error is made, the next factory will not be able to continue, causing huge waste. Although he had exercised a lot of work ability, he felt that he couldn't take it anymore. The only better thing is that the assassin, looking at him now, can feel a little trust. This is a very happy change for Noodle people. Okay, next is the goal in another direction, and the unfolding of this goal is the other biggest key point that determines whether all our efforts will pay off. At this moment, the Noodle Man looked at the other plan in his hand, and his face became serious. And in the plan form, it was marked in the Osto language, Osta Exploration Ship Interception Plan. Probably the samples collected on the moon are almost done. Now comes the real highlight. This is a place with a gray-black surface and an extremely desolate feel. The moon, there is no air here, no breath of any living thing. It is impossible to tell that this place is only 380,000 kilometers away from the Earth. It is simply a world of death. It is a completely contrasting extreme with the Earth where living things are flourishing. However, the moon in the past few days has completely changed from its previous appearance, showing an extremely grand scene. Robots from 350 spacecrafts lined up in neat lines, constantly exploring and mining on the moon's surface. The moon has some rare minerals that are difficult to collect on Earth, as well as an environment that is relatively easy to mine. After all, most of the minerals on the Earth's surface have been included in the development products of the giant Mosquito Earth Alliance. If you want to continue to go deep into the ground, it is better to mine the moon. After all, technology is not a problem for today's alliance. And inside the largest spacecraft, which was a huge spacecraft of more than 100 meters, a huge dark creature was looking at the scenery outside the ship's side. The spacecraft also had some equipment and cargo, so that Jia Yan could only curl up on the ground and keep looking out the window. Actually, the Earth's current state of overthrowing growth is extremely bad. They originally wanted to build up after breaking, and the social outlook deeply implanted in people's hearts has long been destroyed. But I forcefully add a more ambitious technological civilization to them. There may be hidden dangers in the future. There are so many that they are not even enough to adapt to today's level of civilization. Without external intervention, it is not surprising that the Earth's civilization may fall into long-term chaos and stagnation, or even retrogress and destruction. But as long as I'm here, it's impossible to let this happen. Jia Yan had no choice. There were some things he just didn't want to do. If he didn't use the huge manpower of the people on Earth to fight, he wouldn't be able to achieve the current situation. They were just 10 monsters from other civilizations. He didn't feel that it is even impossible for him to rely on those 10 subordinates to create the current situation. If it weren't for the huge manpower of the people on Earth who trusted him, they would still be studying the 60-meter aircraft. Sir, the emergency collection of minerals is almost complete. According to our plan, the first batch of spaceships are already heading there. Suddenly, a not tall Earth City creature came to the big Mosquito and reported respectfully. Jia Yan looked at him and knew that this creature was one of the 10 men he had brought with him. It was considered a great effort here on Earth. Of course, each of the 10 visitors from Earth City exerted great efforts here on Earth. Even if any of them were missing, Earth might not be able to reach this level now. Okay, I remember you were one of the first operators to fly over, right? A person goes there to build the first batch of facilities. The journey may be very lonely, and there will also be a lot of pressure and unpredictable things happening, so please try. Uncharacteristically, Jia Yan spoke some encouraging words to this weak alien in an extremely low-profile tone. Sir, I will definitely work hard and live up to your trust. The creature looked excited at this moment and quickly lowered his head and responded respectfully. Jia Yan was very sincere. This monster was chosen to be the first to go there and carry out the first phase of work. It was extremely important. Although there was probably not much danger here in the solar system, the fatigue of the journey, and changes in mentality may be a huge pressure on the first group of people, so he still encouraged them. There was another dangerous possibility that he didn't tell anyone. That is the representative of the Asta people who existed before the Earth. It may also be the Oro who, as Jia Yan knows now, may have the strongest scientific research ability among all aliens. Until now, he never believed that such a terrible person would die in the attack of Daphne. He even went so far as to report the news of star condensation on the Earth to the exploration ship of the Asta Empire. He died after having a dispute with Daphne. Now that I think about it, this is just nonsense. The more he learned about Oro, the less Jia Yan believed it, because if Oro really wanted to gain any reputation or a chance to return to the Asta Empire, he could just take out any of his research and it would be a success. Such an earth-shattering effect, let alone returning to the Asta Empire, is not impossible even if he is immediately appointed as the strongest scientist on the front line by the Asta Empire. But this person just did it, and he didn't even know what he was thinking. Not long after, a fleet of 100 ships took off from the surface of the moon. That not-so-tall Earth City creature was currently operating hundreds of spaceships loaded with a lot of supplies, heading towards the vast interstellar space, constantly approaching. Thanks for your hard work. Looking at the hundreds of flying forms leaving in the distance, Jia Yan knew that the design of these spacecraft could not be compared with real alien spacecraft, and even compared with the lowest-end commercial spaceships in Earth City. Not as good, so for other spaceships, it is not that far away, but it will take a long time to arrive at this time. He was sincerely grateful to the subordinate who operated hundreds of spaceships by himself, and later even started the first batch of construction in that place alone. At this time, the big Mosquito was not in any of the remaining spaceships. After leaving 100 spaceships, the transportation tasks for the remaining 250 ships became even more arduous. The space occupied by his size was too large and not cost-effective. Just trying to see if my flying ability can fly the distance from the Earth to the Moon. The big Mosquito turned around, his brainwave power controlled his whole body, and he ignored the group of spaceships still in operation behind him and headed back towards the Earth. The resistance in a vacuum is almost negligible, so he goes faster and faster, faster and faster. In the end, it turned into a dark line, like lightning, streaking towards the Earth. How terrifying and unbelievable it is to physically cross the starry sky. Of course, with the current flying ability and vacuum survival ability of the giant mosquito, it is impossible for the giant mosquito to fly even from the moon to the Earth. You must know that the starry sky class is a strong person who can truly survive in the starry sky and within a small distance. There are even some extremely powerful starry sky levels that have been able to truly survive in the starry sky. Of course, those are only some top powerhouses, or creatures whose biological characteristics are originally suitable for the universe. Although Jia Yan is still unable to survive in space without relying on air, as a starry sky level expert, he is already strong enough. If calculated according to the limit, he himself does not know that if he leaves the air, he can survive in space. How long will it take to survive and fight? After all, he knows that this time will be a long, long time. The problem that Giant Mosquito is most worried about now is that in addition to the two upcoming Star Empire exploration ships, there is also an original representative of the Asta Empire who may not really be dead, Oro. What Jia Yan didn't know was that his bad guess was indeed correct. In a quiet void, it is not close to any planet. It is surrounded by nothingness. Even the stars that emit light are far away. However, in this barren space, a quietly docked spaceship is like a small boat in the darkness, floating freely in the vast and boundless universe. However, compared to the quiet appearance, the spacecraft is extremely restless. There was a mechanical sound, and various robots, moving up and down in the spacecraft. A stooped man in clothes who looked like a beggar, wearing glasses that symbolized his status as a scholar, was constantly doing his work while floating. Is not equal to meow is not equal to buy is not equal to ge is not equal to. This man never seemed to stop for a moment, as if his life was constantly developing, and redeveloping. Oh, there is an image of the Earth. Look what strange things the big mosquito I cultivated has done, haha. He actually developed so many spaceships and went towards there. Did he want to? Is it possible to use these primitive spaceships to resist exploration ships? Is it possible? Ha ha ha, anyway, I don't understand war, I don't know. But do you want to make a joke with this kid? Destroy his group of primitive spaceships. His expression will be very cute then, ha ha ha, but forget it, I will continue my research. Gravitational waves, gravitational waves? I'm about to identify that place, ha ha ha. I'm such a genius. I can actually use the gravitational wave system to create such a thing. I'm the biggest genius in the world, ha 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 ha. They are all fools. Daphne was fooled by the clone I made, Big Mosquito was fooled by me, the exploration ship was fooled by me, and the Asta people were fooled by me. Ha ha ha, all of them are fools. I was deceived, I am the smartest. The man muttered to himself like a madman, laughing and crying at the same time. However, not long after, the information about the big mosquito seemed to be completely eliminated from his mind, and the spacecraft fell into trouble again. In the previous chaotic research and development. Please subscribe to the official version, and if you can, please vote for and collect Bulletin U's new book Super Evolutionary Mutation, thank you. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 515. The progress on Earth does not mean that this era has completely changed for the better. After all, if the development is too fast, or the change process is too fast, there will eventually be many hidden dangers. But because everyone felt at a loss about the changes, they were dragged away by an invisible momentum, causing temporary tranquility on the Earth. But when the tranquility turned into silence, all kinds of thoughts that were already ready to stir up finally burst out completely. Some human beings finally had their own demands at this time, or they had a lot of bad words for the changes in the earth. There is even an extremely rare small group that has complaints and hostility towards the legal rule of the giant Mosquito clan and the inaction of the Earth's higher UPS. This emotion has always been lurking, but those people have completely let go of their emotions because of the power of the Mosquito clan. But when the Earth stabilized, they found that the big mosquitoes were not that strong, so these forces or individuals began to act. Some so-called gatherings, as well as so-called organizations to resist the invasion of the Earth by the giant Mosquito clan, began to appear. However, their influence is not very great yet, it is just slowly developing through secret actions. After all, the giant mosquitoes and the people on Earth are still different races. Although not every country understands the famous saying of the Chinese people, that is, those who are not from our race must have different hearts. However, most people on Earth still have a similar mentality. Even though Big Mosquito has expressed his mentality countless times and even helped so many people on Earth unconditionally, that kind of skeptical mentality has never disappeared. Fortunately, the giant Mosquito clan had nowhere to discredit, so the scope of influence of these organizations could not continue to expand. It's just that everything is undercurrent. If something goes wrong, there may be a huge backlash among the people on Earth. Regarding all this, the giant Mosquito clan, that is, Jia Yan himself, and his subordinates did not pay much attention. Although Jia Yan may understand that similar things are unavoidable, for him, on the Earth at this time, even if there are some remarks against him, it is impossible to shake the foundation. As for those famous subordinates of Earth City, they don't even care. After all, in their view, the people on Earth are too weak. They are so weak that they don't need assassins. Even the 10 of them can easily massacre the people on Earth without using any high-tech alien weapons. Without power, they have no right to speak. If Jia Yan hadn't stopped them from being malicious towards the people on Earth, maybe these powerful creatures have already begun the process of destroying lower races like Earthlings. It seems like there are still waves, but the changes on the Earth are still continuing. The environment is getting better day by day. The environmental problems that people on Earth talk about every day are no longer a problem. You must know that in 4 months, the environment of the Earth has already exceeded that of 10 years ago, and even some people literally die because of circumstances. But now the environment has improved, and these organizations immediately have one less place to attack. Afterwards, the Giant Mosquito Earth Alliance announced another thing that might bring the Giant Mosquito clan closer to the union with the Earthlings, which is the training of Earthling pilots. Now those organizations can't sit still. If things between the people on Earth and the Giant Mosquito clan continue to become closer, then the living space of these organizations will not be possible. So these organizations began to surface actions. My lord, this is how those groups operate and what the threats may be in the future. The giant mosquito flew around and returned to the Earth from the moon. Unexpectedly, a report came to him. This journey is uneventful. The distance from the Earth to the moon is only 380,000 kilometers. The speed of a giant mosquito in the air can reach the limit of 50 times the speed of sound. At this speed, it is only 6 kilometers from the Earth to the moon. Just over an hour, even in space, because there is no resistance, the limit speed will expand even more exaggeratedly. This time, because the acceleration process was too short, it took Jia Yan almost 4.5 hours to return to Earth. If the distance is longer and he flies at full strength, then his speed will be even more terrifying. Jia Yan looked at the information report handed over by a subordinate and felt a little depressed. He has always been protective of the Earth, but after all, he could not be too gentle in the past, so he might do the minimum to make people criticize. But I didn't expect that those so-called resistance organizations would still appear. These matters should not be expanded. Let the police solve them. Let's not take action or even get involved. Jia Yan just thought for a moment and stopped paying attention to this issue. Yes. Sir, regarding the decision of the giant mosquito, the subordinates over there are unlikely to have any doubts. After all, in their opinion, the people on Earth are simply not qualified to cause any danger to the giant mosquito clan, and may even cause any danger to the giant mosquito clan in the future. After the arrival of Earth City, the comparison of the combat effectiveness of the two sides was as big as heaven and earth. Of course, the people on Earth may have some connection with the assassin, so they dare not make any suggestions to the assassin about killing the people on Earth at this time. After all, this may be a taboo matter. Regarding the treatment methods of those organizations, the only way is to treat them coldly. But Jia Yan himself had another idea. It seems that in a relationship with people on Earth, it is indeed not easy to be treated sincerely by the other party. If the racial barriers cannot be eliminated, then there will never be a time to be sincere. Jia Yan had a headache and thought for a long time, but still couldn't think of any good solution, so he had to put these things aside. After dealing with things that only he could handle, Jia Yan once again flew towards the village where the Jiao family lived. This nameless little village is only more than 100 kilometers away from Shanghai. Although it was continuously damaged during the war, thanks to the protection of the old villagers, it still did not suffer too much damage until the big mosquito returned. Of destruction. And now, he has exploded into an incredibly powerful process. Calling him a village is no longer enough to describe it. At this time, the village was renamed Return City. It was named to celebrate the fact that the giant mosquito clan had returned here as their first destination several times. Originally I wanted to call it Jiajiachan, but the Jiao family and the giant mosquito unanimously rejected it, so I gave up. Some people are against the giant mosquitoes, while others are naturally trying to please them. The latter are definitely many times more numerous than the former. Even most people on Earth have a very favorable impression of the giant mosquito monsters. The village began large-scale construction, with the original small village halfway up the mountain as the center point and expanding to the surrounding areas. At the same time, those people on Earth who had obtained free status from factories also knew the rumors about this newly built city, so they all flocked to this place at this time. Giant Mosquito. I saw Mr. Giant Mosquito. It turns out that this is really a place where Mr. Giant Mosquito often comes. The decision to settle here is indeed correct. Does it mean that Mr. Giant Mosquito really has an extremely close relationship with the family on the top of the mountain? An earthling who settled under the mountainside was watching the construction process of his home while looking at the place where the big mosquito fell with great surprise. The entire hill has long been defined as a hidden place. The entire mountain is guarded by some guards. Except for the people in the mountain who can go up and down freely, it is impossible for others to go up the mountain. And those ordinary people on Earth saw that the big mosquitoes actually came and went to this hill so frequently, so they all decided to settle here. For them, there is no place more sacred and glorious than living in a place frequented by large mosquitoes. Building a house is also very simple, and there are even some generous perks. You only need to register in some specific places, and then mechanical monsters will come to help build it, which is fast and efficient. But none of this is free. After all, if everything is free, not only will it not help the people on Earth, but it will harm this race and make it impossible for them to continue to grow. Fortunately, these things are only temporarily recorded in a new personal information card, just like repaying a loan, and can be easily repaid in the future. Nowadays, many things are still in need of innovation. For people on Earth, what they want is not to copy other civilizations' ways of doing things and government affairs methods. Although other interstellar civilizations may indeed have better ways to solve people's livelihood, for people on Earth, it is said that it is not something that can be achieved overnight, and it may not necessarily be suitable, so Jia Yan does not pay much attention to this aspect, but only makes some suggestions to the people of Earth through other Earth City scholars. Everything is still being explored. Uncle. The mud is coming, the mud is coming. Little Kikai was finally able to pronounce the word uncle accurately, but it still sounded very cute. The little baby girl was swaying. When she saw the big mosquito, she jumped out of her mother's arms and ran to the big mosquito. Her big eyes were shining, expecting something. Kikai is going to lose her height, isn't she? I really don't know how you, like your mother, like these exciting things. Jia Yan happily looked at little Kikai, who was only half the height of his front foot scales, speechless. He sent out his brainwave power and picked him up. Amid Kikai's excited screams, the Geo family members who heard Big Mosquito's unintentional words looked at each other in surprise. They really felt more and more that this giant mosquito seemed to really know their family very well. When chatting, they even regarded it as their only eldest son Jia Yan, who had already passed away. Jia Yan also discovered some clues. Just like now, when talking to his family, he unconsciously mentioned that Kikai was like her mother. You know, there are some things that only the Geo family knows. But he sighed softly in his heart, there were some things that it was better not to expose. If it is really revealed, it will not be a good thing. So he didn't point this out. The Geo family seemed to have a tacit understanding, but they were obviously more kind to the big mosquito. Maybe they still don't believe that the big mosquito might be Jia Yan, but that person must have some relationship with their family, that's for sure. Jia Yan didn't have anything big to do when he came here this time. He just chatted with his family about daily life. Thanks to the recent frequent visits, he finally became a little familiar with his parents, brother-in-law, and other people who were not so harmonious at first. And he used the power of brainwaves to throw little Kikai high in a very small range, making the little girl giggle for a long time. In order to prevent her from being too excited and causing trouble at night, Jia Yan put it down on the ground. But what no one expected was this. When Jia Yan didn't care, he put little Kikai on the ground, and the family let her stagger on the ground. After all, there was a young nanny following them, and they didn't worry about her safety. Throw it high. Throw it high. Kikai danced with her little hands, holding a children's food packaging box on the ground that she had just eaten, and waving it vigorously. Ah, the young nanny who was following Kikai made a surprised sound. Everyone turned their attention because of this voice. Eh? How is that possible? Jia Yan was suddenly shocked when he saw the scene below. The Geo family members' expressions changed drastically, and they were extremely shocked. It turned out that under the waving of Xiao Kikai's arms, the food packaging box in front of her actually trembled and floated. Kikai waved her little hand, and the packaging box flew to a height of more than 1 meter, a little higher than her. Then she continued to dance with her hands, and the packaging box fell down again, hitting the ground with a crisp sound. Kikik. Throw it high, throw it high. Little Kikai clapped her immature palms, ran over, picked up the packaging box, and stuffed it into her mouth. Dirty, don't pick up everything and eat it. Still, Jia Lin's mother's instinct was to react quickly, and she went over and snatched the packaging box from Kikai's hand. Kikai's mouth flattened, tears overflowed, and she was about to cry. Fortunately, before that, Jia Yan quickly released his brainwave power. Jia Lin only felt a gentle force coming from Kikai's body. After she was stunned, she understood that it was the big mosquito. After thinking for a moment, she let Kikai go. The little baby girl floated up and looked at the ground getting higher and higher, and she was happy again. Come Kikai, uncle asked you, how did you know? Jia Yan didn't know how to explain the power of brainwaves to a little baby girl, so he changed his questioning method. Kikai, why did you let him lose his temper? The packaging box on the ground jumped up and came to Kikai's side, indicating that this was what Jia Yan was asking about. Kikai sucked her fingers and looked at the packaging box. Just when Jia Yan thought she hadn't understood what she was asking, the little girl spit out her little fingers and started talking in a milky voice. Uncle Kikai, chirp. Follow me. Jia Yan was startled, then thought that the first time he saw this niece, he seemed to have been using his brainwave power to play the game of throwing high with her. Could it be that my use of brainwave power made her understand how brainwave power works, and then she used it herself? Could it be that people on Earth also have the talent to use brainwave power? That's right, hasn't there always been so-called superpowers on Earth? Although most of them are unstable, this is enough to show that people on Earth, at least some groups, are gifted with brainwave power. And Kikai is one of them. Mr. Assassin, what's going on with Kikai? She shouldn't have any physical problems. While Jia Yan was thinking, Jia's father Jia Sheng's questioning voice came from below. Jia Yan came back to his senses and saw a famous family member below looking at little Kikai suspended in the sky with great concern, and suddenly laughed. Don't worry, this is not a bad thing. It seems that I was wrong before. I didn't think that people on Earth also have some power talents. Kikai may even have excellent talents, Jia Yan said. You must know that a creature without anyone's guidance and enlightenment, even if it is surrounded by the brainwave power of other strong people every day, can realize the brainwave power on its own. This kind of thing is extremely rare among those alien civilizations. It can be seen that Kikai's talent for brainwave power may be a good idea. Of course, this is also relative, at least compared to Jia Yan, a giant mosquito that is an evolved beast. It is better not to compare. This kind of thing is definitely not a bad thing. I will slowly teach her how to master this power in the future, but you may suffer from it in the future. Haha. Jia Yan couldn't help but laugh a little when he thought of the pranks that little Kikai might do in the future after mastering the power of brain waves. By the way, don't call me Mr. Assassin anymore. Since I already recognize Kikai as my niece, you can call me Assassin. You don't have to be so unfamiliar. Meow by Ge. After continuing to chat with the family, the body of the big mosquito flew into the sky at a certain moment. Naturally, the Earthlings outside were also surprised for a while. Jia Yan didn't look too much at those humans. At this time, he felt a little excited about the fact that people on Earth have brainwave power. Earth's technology foundation is extremely low. If it develops normally, even with the knowledge support from my Earth city, it will not be possible to fully develop it in a short time. But if they have brainwave power, if you have talent, it's different. Regarding the mastery of power, relatively speaking, as long as you have talent, the time to become powerful is definitely not slower than the technological power that requires time and foundation support, or even much faster. Just like Jia Yan himself, if he, a creature from the Earth, were allowed to master scientific and technological knowledge to make Earth City so powerful, then even if he was given 100 years, Earth City would not be able to come out of the golden desert. But he took advantage of his talents and his rapid promotion, so Earth City became a fairly good force today. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 516. Sir, the emergency detection process has been started for 3 days. I really didn't expect that people on Earth are actually gifted with brainwave power. So far, 2 people with brainwave talents have been discovered in just 3 days. Oh? What kind of 2 people, let's see. In the quiet and deep starry sky of the universe, a huge aircraft reaching 100 meters is suspended in the sky. This is a familiar-looking aircraft. If I'm not mistaken, it is the aircraft that Jia Yan once rode to the Earth from Neptune. At this time, it had long since changed beyond recognition, and had been subjected to a series of transformations by several Earth City researchers. You must know that although this aircraft can only be regarded as an aircraft, but its advanced level is definitely much better than what the Earth built itself. Therefore, it is impossible to stop the modification of this aircraft, especially the power system. No matter how hard these enthusiasts tinker, they cannot make a better aircraft than this aircraft, so they can only make more intensive modifications to this aircraft, giving it combat power. At this time, Jia Yan was quietly crawling in the larger space. Below is an Earth City scholar with sociological abilities reporting to Jia Yan. But it is a pity that of these two people, one is an old man in his 50s. It is too late for him to learn how to control the power of brain waves. The other is a child under 5 years old, and his brain bow strength talent is really not very high, so he may not be able to become very powerful after 10 years of training. The scholar felt a little regretful. Jia Yan also felt sorry. When he saw that Kikai seemed to have a lot of brainwave power talent, he thought that this kind of talent should exist among the people on Earth. However, in 3 days, at least in a small area, after testing no less than 500,000 people, they still couldn't find anyone with strong brainwave power worth cultivating. It doesn't matter. It is abnormal for people on Earth to have large-scale brainwave power talents. After all, this is a race that has not been optimized and modulated by various genes. If they have extremely powerful brainwave power talents from the beginning, then the race should have left the planet a long time ago. You can continue to search. I don't need much. It is enough to find 10,000 brainwave power talents among the 3 billion people on Earth who are worth cultivating. At least they will be. It is possible for a seed from the future to bring people on Earth to another level. Jia Yan said with some disappointment. People on Earth have a wide range of brainwave power talents. In fact, if you think about it carefully, you will know that it is impossible. After all, people on Earth have been developing on the Earth for more than 1,000,000 years. If they had the talent of brainwave power, they would have used this talent to reach the stars long ago. The only reason why it has developed like this now is that their brainwave power talent is not as powerful as imagined. Okay, sir, I'll go ahead and make arrangements. The sociologist Earth City member quietly retreated. In fact, this person was also a scientific research enthusiast. However, the characters brought by Jia Yan basically had several specialties, so they also shouldered many responsibilities. Other duties. Jia Yan was still lying there thinking. He was not too depressed about the Earthling's brainwave power talent, but was just a little disappointed. However, if there are more than 10,000 characters worth cultivating, then it will be a huge population base for the Earth. These people may be more or less, and they are a force that can definitely affect the future. Especially if they adapt to the power of brain waves to a certain extent, it is not impossible to treat them as combat professionals. At that time, due to the addition of brainwave power, there will be characters on Earth who can operate some of the aliens' unique combat tools. For example, a unique war armor, which people on Earth might call a mecha, is a powerful combat weapon second only to battleships. Even some civilizations still use war armor as their main battle weapon. The equipment even has a combat power that is slightly superior to that of some battleships. There are also battleships and even artillery fire. People on Earth today cannot adapt to war in the stars because their brains are not strong enough. However, strong people who have cultivated brainwave power will not say whether they can use brainwave power to fight. Generally speaking, for those with strong brainwave power, their brains can move much faster than other creatures, which is enough to enable them to adapt to the war in the stars. If there are really 10,000 people, then the people on Earth can have a 10,000-person starry sky army. In the future, they will also have the basic ability to protect themselves. God can see the pity, the big mosquito really wants the people on Earth to be strong. But it's too early to say that now. At least in the war that will happen in the next few months, the people on Earth are destined not to be the protagonists in the war, and even the supporting roles may not be able to be now. This also depends on whether the people on Earth have the ability to learn to drive. Listen, you are the hope of the future of the Earth and the future of the people on Earth. If you want to truly become a hero of this race and contribute to the future peaceful development of the Earth, then you must train hard and be able to. Can you do it? Can do it? The shouts in unison caused huge vibrations in the air. A large group of people lined up neatly were being lectured by a monster that was 5 meters tall. The monster had a noodle-like figure, and standing in front of him at this time were thousands of Earthlings. Each of these Earthlings were between 15 and 23 years old, and all of them were young. Passionate age. This group of people is the most talented people selected from among the more than 30 righteous people on the entire earth. Most of them have strong bodies, and some even have vague brainwave power talents. However, because there was no complete test of brainwave power in the previous test, those brainwave power talent holders may have to continue in the future. Only through testing can their talents be fully discovered. These young people were all dressed in neat military uniforms. Although they were only recruiting drivers, they all joined the giant Mosquito Earth Alliance Army in accordance with the Alliance's regulations. The uniforms of the Alliance Army combine the advantages of various military uniforms from the Earth's past, plus the suggestions of those alien scholars. They look straight and majestic, and look like a powerful and refreshing aura. And this group of people is the only one to form an organized force after the real Earth Alliance Army, which numbered almost 50,000 people. The spaceship pilot unit, with 7,500 people, is temporarily organized into two legions. One is a key training legion with slightly better quality, and the other is a nominal reserve. However, the competition between the two legions is extremely fierce. If the the quality of the personnel is not good, they will be replaced immediately. If the members of the second army are not performing well, don't think that they have no other place to go. You must know that there are tens of thousands of real reserve members waiting behind. The fierce competition is not without effect. Each young man is extremely excited and full of passion. You must know that they are the strongest ones selected from tens of millions of candidates, with arrogance and determination. The forward momentum makes it impossible for them to admit defeat, and they must do their best, rather than being driven away and going to the real reserve in despair. Very good, then let your instructor teach you. The Noodle Man only appeared for a moment. Jia Yan was the strongest. They didn't even show up, they were too busy. Even though Jia Yan looked like a top leader in name only, there were still as many things as a mountain that he had to deal with. So I can't show up to encourage these recruits at this time. Even so, it is enough. Every recruit who saw Noodle Man was simply excited. You know, as the second largest figure in the giant Mosquito clan, Noodle Man even appeared in various media. The number of times was much greater than that of the real supreme leader, Big Mosquito. How could they not be excited to see this alien who only appeared on TV? Okay, you all go with the soldiers around you. They will arrange where you will live next, as well as the regulations of the army, etc. The formal training will start tomorrow. As the chief trainer, he is a scholar from Earth City. For these creatures from the Golden Desert, although each of these scholars is not a powerful individual, they are all absolute masters in driving the spaceship. Plus he was originally involved in the design of the spacecraft. How could he not understand how to operate it? Jia Yan has too few people at his disposal. Usually when there is an urgent matter, he will ask his subordinates to interrupt his work and carry out more urgent matters. However, thanks to the loyalty of his subordinates, no major problems have arisen yet. Very good. Earth's pilot training has also begun. Pilot Army. No, no, no. Their real name in the future will not be such an old-fashioned name, but, Earth Alliance Fleet. Jia Yan has long thought about relinquishing power. For the people on Earth, his current leadership is just a temporary measure. As an evolutionary beast, the path he will take in the future is destined to be the path of a lonely strong man. He is not in charge. Want. Okay, all preparations have begun. I hope these new recruits from Earth will have a satisfactory result. Time flies, and the day when Earth City encounters an exploration ship is getting closer and closer. A few light years away, a large number of spaceships of various types were flying in a strange space at extremely fast speeds. Curvature space is the most wonderful way of traveling in the stars. The principle of curvature space uses the principle of space folding to make the speed of the aircraft, although it does not essentially break the speed of light. In fact, it is still close to or even exceeds the speed of light. Each of these spaceships has a strange shape. Just looking at the appearance, it is impossible to tell that they belong to the same force. Sir, the previous supply went smoothly, but... In a cold and dark room, a croaking Asta woman looked at the delicate red-haired figure on the couch not far away, and hesitated to speak. Just what? Daphne took down the book in her hand and asked with a frown. Having been in charge of the fleet for a long time, as the current Supreme Commander, she has long had the bearing of a superior. It's just that we discovered that the 200-meter class battleship is still following us not far away. Daphne was silent for a while, then shook her head slightly, and said to the submissive female subordinate of the Asta people, "I understand, please step back." The woman retreated as she was told, but at this moment, Daphne frowned and picked up her brain. Jia Yan also has this kind of smart brain, but Jia Yan is limited by his size and doesn't have a very suitable model, so he doesn't use it much now. She clicked on the screen, performed some operations, and then clicked on a piece of information. Soon, a recording video appeared on the screen. The holographic image recorded that when their fleet was conducting collection operations, a 200-meter class warship flashed not far away, and then continued. Concealed, these are not military hulls and cannot be detected at all. How is it possible? If it enters curvature navigation, ordinary warships should not be able to track it. However, he still did not attack this time. Does he really want to follow him to the solar system? Daphne was a little silent. This battleship is definitely not an ordinary battleship. It may even be an advanced model among those large civilizations. However, regardless of whether it is an advanced model or not, and regardless of how it tracked us, since there is no attack now, it can also be shown that he may not attack in the future. It's just that this kind of non-attack, after arriving on the Earth and discovering the star condensation on the Earth, or the people on the Earth, it is not necessarily the same mentality. Daphne was calculating what the purpose of this warship that had been following her was. She thought about whether it was the Asta civilization, and also whether it was the Ruland civilization. But these were all directly denied by her. When the Asta civilization saw them, they would definitely kill them directly. When the Ruland civilization saw her as a traitor, it was absolutely impossible for them to have any good ideas. They must also attack directly. It is impossible to pursue them without fighting. Then, could it be that mysterious Zerg? Thinking of the Zerg, Daphne felt a cold feeling. Although she had always known that the Zerg was extremely mysterious, when the Zerg commander appeared that day, no one even knew how he appeared alone in a place with no planets around, but after appearing like that, Daphne truly realized that the Zerg race was definitely not such a simple race. But after thinking about it, she denied the possibility of it being Zerg. Because the opponent is too mysterious and powerful, even the assassin can't resist him and can only escape in embarrassment. If they want to do something, they can't be so sneaky, right? What's more, Daphne also knows that if the Zerg commander wants to follow them quietly, they may not be able to find him. Instead of seeing his shadow so often, this proves that either the other party's operating skills are not good, or the other party's concealment ability has not reached the level of completely concealing their fleet, and both of these possibilities, Daphne feels, should not appear on that mysterious Zerg civilization. Forget it, since the other party has no ill intentions, let's hurry up. After all, the two major civilization exploration ships were cutting-edge weapons among civilizations hundreds of years ago. The huge semi-combat aircraft carriers, even now, are a terrifying force. If the situation deteriorates, if we rush over with such a large force, it may at least be of some help. Thinking of this, Daphne decided to continue her journey plan. Everything is like this, in an orderly manner, but under the surging undercurrent, time slowly passes. When time finally passed again, it was 8 months later. That is, it has finally been a full year since the giant mosquito returned to Earth. Earth, this blue planet, for a whole year, completely changed his appearance. A year ago, the Earth was still under the threat of metal monsters. The people were in dire straits, and things like Yzi eating each other had happened. It can be said to be extremely miserable. But after the big mosquito returned, the Earth was undergoing earth-shaking changes to a geometric extent. In just 4 months, the Earth has changed tremendously, but now, it's already a year later. The changes on the Earth cannot be described as earth-shaking. If it were a year ago, no one on Earth would believe it. Just 1 year later, their race, which was still living under the threat of metal monsters, has now transformed into this. The sky is blue. In the sea, a huge 200-meter yacht was driving slowly. It was said that he was a child who looked to be only 15 or 16 years old. They are all Earthlings. And every child is wearing a uniform. Obviously these are children from the same academy. Haha, I didn't expect that the autumn trip in the first school year would be such a luxurious trip. It's worth our hard work for half a year. A student seemed to be extremely greedy, looking at the blue water around him. Everything seemed extremely fresh to him. TCH. What kind of effort do we have? This is just a fall trip for ordinary schools. Do you know the trip of the first and third classes of high school? They are the first graders in our school. The fall trip project is actually a trip to the moon. The moon. Ah. The other student had a childish face, but he seemed to dislike the beautiful view of the sea in front of him. How do we compare with that group of animals? They are top academics who have learned at the same level as the third grade of junior high school in most half a year. Compared with them, it is like a firefly compared to a bright moon. It is impossible. Please come and collect and recommend the new book Super Evolution and Mutation. It is still 2,000 words per chapter a day, and it will be accelerated in the future. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 517. Don't say that, you are too unsure. It is said that some of them have had learning experience during the metal monster period. If we work harder, maybe we can catch up with them next semester. A girl pouted and came between the two boys, looking at the white clouds in the sky. The white clouds that were often invisible half a year ago are now an ordinary sight that can be seen every day. On the contrary, the so-called haze has long gone. Haha, that's right. But what I want most is not to surpass them in half a year, but that in half a year, my brainwave power talent will awaken and become the Superpower Academy on the road to becoming strong. The student who spoke first was excited and yearning, looking forward to the so-called Superpower Academy. Haha, just you? There are no more than 15,000 people on Earth confirmed to have superpowers. Most of them are overage and lack talent. Only about 6,000 people can enter the Superpower Academy. That's 1 out of 10,000, and you're the only one who still wants to enter. The other students laughed at the student. The student also knew that he had gone too far. 8 months have passed, and people on Earth have increasingly adopted a new order, and are even vaguely close to some alien civilizations. However, the previous cultural faults cannot be repaired so easily. Fortunately, the new value system is gradually becoming the new trend vein for people on Earth. The so-called superpowers, that is, those with strong brainwave power, have now become the most admired and interesting people on Earth. As the name suggests, this group of people is the people recruited by the mosquito through the detection mechanism. However, even if the restrictions on age and talent level are relaxed, the people of the Earth can only select more than 6,000 people who can be trained by Kankan, a person gifted with brainwave power. However, people who are somewhat dissatisfied with the giant mosquitoes have now become the envy of many people on Earth. Just like these students, every one of them desperately hopes to become a talented person with brainwave power. The student who was ridiculed looked at each student with extreme helplessness. Do I really have no talent? Maybe I'm overthinking it. According to the manual issued by the school, I have tried brainwave power for so long, but I still can't use it. It shows that I am really not a gifted person. The child was extremely depressed. When the other students left one by one, he hugged the mast of the cruise ship and stood there in a daze. Finally, perhaps there was a feeling that drove him, and he gently stretched out his palm. Perhaps it was the ridicule of others that became his motivation. Bang! In the sea, a wave suddenly rose. This. The student rubbed his eyes in disbelief and then tried again. Bang! The sea water continued to rise. Although the rise was not large, it was enough for the student to confirm his success. Ha ha ha! I succeeded. I really succeeded. I am a superpower. On the cruise ship, the child's loud laughter was suddenly heard. There are many similar situations all over the earth. People on Earth are still discovering the power of brain waves. It seems that because they have never been exposed to the power of brain waves before, even if there are Enlightenment textbooks, many people still hide their talents. Maybe something similar examples, and many more. In the sky, the Noodle Man was riding in a huge suspended building. This building is more than 50 kilometers above the ground. However, there is a long cableway connecting the ground plane here. Some materials, even small aircraft, can reach here from the ground through the cableway between the building and the ground. This is a lot more convenient, because at a height of 50 kilometers, as long as it is controlled well, there is no danger of falling to the earth. It is basically a vacuum and weightless environment. Noodle Man was in the office in the building, looking at the student's example and feeling a little thoughtful. He felt that people on Earth may have more potential than this in terms of brainwave power. But even if there is indeed some information, it is already too late for the war that is about to happen now. After thinking for a moment, the Noodle Man finally put down his report about the student. Sir, the monitoring station sent a report monitoring the distortion of space outside the solar system. Noodle Man heard the report from an Earthling scientist and quickly walked out of the office. He came to a room with many instruments. There was not only a researcher from Earth City doing his work, but also more than 20 Earthling scientists who were constantly busy. After a year of training, Earthling scientists are generally able to help. Each of them has taken on some basic research and development work, and similar monitoring work is also within their scope of work. The Space Monitoring Station sent a signal. From the analysis, the curvature of the space fluctuates. Obviously, something is coming. The Earth City scholar handed a report to Noodle Man. The Noodle Man looked at the report, said nothing with a solemn expression, and went directly back to his office, then picked up a red communicator. Master Assassin, the enemy has arrived. Please tell me if you want to start executing the battle plan. The interference from the rustling sound in the communicator was extremely huge, and it was obvious that the signal was not very good. Moreover, the people on the other side didn't know how far away they were. After waiting for 5 minutes, the signal from the other side was transmitted back. Shasha, execute, Shasha, plan. Earth Alliance General Mobilization, Shasha, start. 2 words from afar completely mobilized the giant Mosquito Earth Alliance, a behemoth with a population of 3 billion. The war is coming. The assassin has issued a general mobilization order. Earth warriors, now is our life and death moment. Now, in the name of the Alliance Prime Minister, I issue an emergency sign order. Space pilots and those who have served in the military have special skills. They are all within the sign range. A recruitment order from the Noodle Man spread throughout the world in an instant through television media and private newspapers. No one is surprised. No one resisted. No one even thought that this was inappropriate. Before the giant mosquitoes helped the people on Earth defeat the metal monsters, they had already said that the black hands behind the metal monsters were a group of alien civilizations. The people on Earth have long known about this 1-year period, and even though they have gradually regained a peaceful and prosperous life, no one has left this news behind. Finally come. Far away on Mars, a huge dark monster gradually raised its head from the deep canyon. He is the big mosquito. Bang! He gently climbed out from a gap in the canyon. The body of the giant mosquito seems to be darker. There was a slight change in his body, but this change was not a mutation, but a strange strengthening. What's even weirder is that behind the crack in the ground where he crawled out, there is something extremely bright and extremely hot. Along with the large mosquito crawling out, it brings out a trace of liquid like fiery red residue. This is magma. The rock berries on Mars are really good. The minerals here are different from those on the Earth and the gray-yellow planet. It has also had a slight improvement effect on my body that has almost reached its limit. Jia Yan gently shook the magma liquid on his body. That's right, the big mosquito has arrived on Mars a few months ago. And I came here specially to soak in the magma bath here. You must know that the principle of evolution of evolutionary beasts is that through the stimulation of countless external substances, the door to body mutation is opened, and the body mutates and evolves. No matter how powerful a substance is, if it is swallowed too much, it will definitely have no effect. At that time, it is necessary to open up the door wide and absorb the substances that have not been absorbed before, even if they are common. Yes, it can be absorbed into the body and strengthened to a certain extent. Regarding this, Jia Yan discovered this himself when he was supervising the development of the lunar base city on the moon. Evolved beasts are too mysterious, and there may even be huge differences between the two individuals, so this is the first time Jia Yan knows that after trying to devour his body on the barren land on the moon, he discovered that the body has a strengthening effect on ordinary rocks on the moon. Then he immediately thought of Mars. Only then did Jia Yan come to Mars alone. As far as the life of a big mosquito is concerned, as long as there is an atmosphere, no matter how thin the oxygen in it is, he can easily survive as long as he has oxygen. In a few months, although it has not mutated again, the effect seems to be good. On the surface of Mars, gray-yellow sand and gravel are flying all over the sky. For people on Earth, this planet is a planet that cannot be ignored. Not only does Mars have many similarities with the Earth, but also because people on Earth have had many years of doubts about whether there is life on this planet. Dispute. Now it seems that the possibility of life here is very slim. Jia Yanfu's eyes reflected the sun's rays. In the starry sky above his head, the sunlight was weaker than on the Earth. The gravity here is also lower than that on the Earth. He can easily activate his brainwave power to make himself float. This planet may not be as mysterious as imagined, but this is also for me. After all, I have been to so many planets. For scientists on Earth, this place is still a treasure. Even in the future, it may find a way to arrange for Earthlings to immigrate here. The big mosquito stepped on the yellow sand, splashing up a cloud of dust. This planet has too many harsh environments, even some violent sandstorms, and even large mosquitoes don't want to enter them. It's really terrifying. Okay, what I have to do now is return to Earth. The big mosquito comes to a dark place. Here, there is a metallic shine. It turns out that in this place, there is a pile of metal material that is tens of meters in size. These substances appear in irregular shapes and are spread on the ground. It is absolutely impossible for an Earthling to know these things. They may even think that these are strange houses. After all, several parts of them are as huge as several-story buildings. But they are not buildings. When the big mosquitoes saw them, they immediately moved. Gently lift up the front legs and pick up the largest part. With the help of brainwave power, this part flew slowly and was inserted into his body. It turns out that they are the real equipment that the Mosquito once again possesses after it reaches such a powerful level, the giant Mosquito armor. Click, 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 click. Tiny sounds kept ringing in the thin air of Mars. Finally, the fully dressed big Mosquito showed what might be his strongest posture yet. A huge monster with shining golden light, as if its head was holding the sky and its feet were stepping on the earth, appeared in the desolate scene of Mars. But it seems that he doesn't give people the time to carefully observe his current posture. Coax. In the smoke and dust, the big Mosquito had already spread its wings, like a huge cannonball rising into the sky, shooting into the sky. Boom boom boom. On Mars, a planet with smaller gravity, breaking through gravity is simply a simpler matter. With the power of the Mosquito's brainwaves and wings, its speed in the air is like a triple jump, constantly accelerating, accelerating, and accelerating again. Wait until 10 minutes pass. The desolate planet under his feet has actually turned into a huge round planet. The big Mosquito sprinted in an instant and quickly arrived in the familiar starry sky. However, there was no spaceship waiting in front of him, and no aircraft came to greet him. Oh, we have to continue the long return journey, Jia Yan muttered in his heart. But he didn't complain too much, but at this time, the brainwave power activated. At the same time, with a thought, he directly activated a certain function of the giant Mosquito armor. The speed of the body flying forward due to the power of brainwaves suddenly increased. It turned out that behind the large Mosquito armor, a jetport located on the tail needle actually spurted out flames. The bright light instantly speeded up the big Mosquito's body. Coupled with the stimulation of brainwave power, the Mosquito's flying speed reached a limit that he had never reached before in an instant. When we came to Mars, it took almost 20 days. Now that we are familiar with some operations on the return trip, it should be a day or two faster. Jia Yan felt how useful the armor was and was somewhat satisfied. This armor is the most suitable equipment he designed himself. It not only has a jet device that can speed him up in the vacuum, but also an air-oxygen supply system. He can survive in the vacuum for a long time. With the armor that greatly increases his survivability, Jia Yan feels like he can give it a try even if it allows him to fly on his own to Neptune. But now is certainly not the time. Because the Asta exploration ship may be coming. In the void, there is a terrifying metal monster that is as large as 10 kilometers. It may be impossible for the people inside to guess that their whereabouts have actually been discovered. Report, there is fluctuation in the curvature space on the other side, and the ship is about to reach its destination. Okay, notify the whole ship and be prepared to resist the impact of separation. There are countless creatures in the huge ship. These creatures are basically similar to human beings. Because they are Asta people, their appearance is roughly similar to that of Earthlings. The 10-kilometer-long aircraft carrier not only has unparalleled combat power, but also has an incredibly complete living space and an extremely advanced industrialized space. It is a type of spacecraft that truly has the ability to sail independently in the stars. Not long after the order to escape from the spacecraft was issued. Boo! A huge vibration resounded in the spaceship, and the Asta people inside were all shaken by the fluctuations. But no one cared, they just kept their expressions unchanged, waiting for the fluctuation to end. And at the same time, not far from the outer reaches of the solar system. In the outermost layer of the solar system, there is a zone full of starry sky material, which is commonly known as the Kuiper belt. Here, there is an incredible amount of interstellar matter. People on Earth even speculate that there may be a real Planet 9 existing in the Kuiper belt. Maybe there is even more than one planet, because judging from the frequency of the gravitational swing of the Sun, unless the ninth planet that has not yet appeared is an extremely huge behemoth, otherwise, there will be more than one planet-level star here, because a small planet cannot form the solar system at all. Such a high swing frequency. And just outside this area that humans have not yet been able to set foot on, a huge monster that is no less inferior to those interstellar materials seems to have suddenly appeared from a strange space. A clue. This is an incredible metal monster. It has a sharp top, which seems to be like a sharp front beak, pecking the entire space. Lightning flashes of fire actually appeared in the vacuum, and countless blue arcs continued to shine in the vacuum. The huge ship slowly emerged from the air. Not long after, the electric arc completely disappeared, and this incredible ship's body was fully revealed. What a huge behemoth this is! He has a slender figure that is 10 kilometers long, and his body is covered with shining metal. Although there may be potholes in some places due to age, this does not detract from its terrifying appearance at all. A main gun with a diameter of 100 meters protrudes from the top of the battleship. It seems that as long as its gunfire is turned on, anything in the way will be directly annihilated. Around the hull, there are two 50-meter secondary guns and dozens of small guns with a diameter of about 20 meters. Just by looking at its appearance, you can tell that it is definitely a killer. As soon as this terrifying monster got out of its body shape, it stabilized the shaking of the ship's hull caused by the curvature of space. It gently pushed the terrifying energy propeller again in a certain direction and started to drive slowly. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 518. The starry sky is deep and full of unknown mysteries. It was as if the behemoth that had just appeared was extremely terrifying. The characters inside may think that they are invincible here, and even a trip here is not much different from the travel industry. But they were wrong. This mysterious starry sky is actually filled with some other mysterious objects. Sure enough, it appeared from here. The space lure brought by Lady Dafuni's command really works. In this wave of interstellar matter in the Kuiper belt, some seemingly small interstellar matter is floating quietly here. That's right. Some sounds are transmitted from these substances. If you can see the inside of interstellar matter, you can find that they are not interstellar matter, but something that looks like interstellar matter, but is actually completely different. These are all modified models of made-on-Earth spaceships. One by one, they are mixed with the interstellar matter in the Kuiper belt, and some of them are obviously extremely shaped. To the naked eye, you can't even tell that they are a spaceship. Two alien scholars from Earth City and dozens of Earth scientists were among these spaceships with nervous expressions. Whether it is Earth scientists or alien scholars, it is the first time for them to see such an exaggerated behemoth, because the semi-stellar aircraft carrier has disappeared from the interstellar civilization hundreds of years ago. So even aliens would find it difficult to see these antiques. You must know that although this behemoth looks ancient, it does not hinder its power at all. Therefore, each of these scholars is extremely nervous. Especially when I think about what they are going to do next, I feel even more nervous. The so-called space can actually be seduced. And if such a huge exploration ship wants to travel to a new place in the curvature space, then the place where it appears must not have an unstable attitude in space. After all, as a 10-kilometer spacecraft, if it comes to it in a place where space is unstable, even a little damage will result in the destruction of the ship and the death of everyone. And Dafuni had previously told Jia Yan and others that the only thing they needed to bring was a not too small space lure. This is something purchased through the Starry Sky settlement. Its only function is to lure some huge spaceships to a specific place to escape from the curvature space. After all, if you want to land, it is necessary to find a stable zone to appear, and the Kuiper belt contains a lot of interstellar matter. Even in curvature space, they cannot directly pass through this area. Only in the solar system stop on the periphery. What Jia Yan and the others did was to set up such a space decoy in the direction they were coming. In this way, the stability of space in this area is slightly better than in other places. In order to avoid risks, there is a high probability that the aircraft carrier will choose to escape from the curvature space here. Don't say that the top management of this exploration ship are all fools. You must know that they have always thought that there is only one intelligent race in the solar system, and that is the Earthlings. But the technological level of the people on Earth is not to mention that of the Kuiper Belt. Even if they escape on the moon, it is impossible for people on Earth to find their traces, let alone come to such a far place to stop them. The Kuiper Belt is too far away. The first batch of more than 100 spaceships from the Earth Alliance to break away came here. Plus several additional spaceships later, each of them had to fly for at least 6 or 7 months before they could reach it. This place. Compared with Neptune, this place is further away from the Earth. Fortunately, compared with the aircraft that Jia Yan once rode, the only powerful thing about these spaceships is that they have a space enhancer. It uses the principle of the curvature navigation engine. Although it is too rough to carry out true space curvature navigation, it can still be done by slightly distorting the space to greatly increase the speed of the spacecraft. This is why these primitive spacecrafts can reach the outer reaches of the Kuiper Belt in 6 or 7 months. When are we going to do it? The two alien scholars looked at the metal monster that was as huge as 10 kilometers in size and was approaching the front. They were both hesitant. You must know that their spaceship is only about 100. Let alone fighting, just by looking at it with the naked eye, you can tell how big the gap between the two is. People on Earth may not know this gap, but as aliens from an interstellar civilization, the two of them definitely know it. This gap is just like the gap between the airplanes invented by Earth people and the spaceships they make now. This is a complete gap. Something completely different. Your Majesty asked us to launch an attack, and even if something goes wrong, we are not too close to those remote-controlled spaceships, so it shouldn't be too dangerous. Beat. The two discussed for a while, and then they both pressed their permission buttons a little crazy. After all, it was a mission arranged by Big Mosquito. As members of Earth City, they were not to mention this 10-kilometer monster. Even the two great interstellar empire forces in the Gray and Yellow Star have gone through them one by one. You must know that those forces, even in the Gray and Yellow Star, have the ability to destroy this aircraft carrier independently. They were not afraid at that time, and they only come now. Isn't fear putting the cart before the horse? The huge 10-kilometer class semi-combat aircraft carrier, the Asta exploration ship, was slowly sailing in space at this time. This exploration ship is too old. Because the aircraft carrier has no longer received strategic resources for hundreds of years, it appears to be in disrepair. Many surfaces were damaged due to various reasons. They were just patched up with ordinary metal. It looks like a beggar wearing many patches of clothing. But just by looking at the huge main gun on the top of it, you can tell that even if he is old, he is definitely a powerful being that cannot be ignored. In the past, it would be eliminated only because it was too expensive to maintain, and it was not cost-effective to be destroyed by an extremely powerful existence. In fact, its combat effectiveness is definitely still second to none among technological battleships. What? An approaching heat source was detected. It's actually an attack. This. Coordinates 24,365, 4,626, 2,567, 764,326. A total of 30 attack heat sources are approaching. The Asta women in military uniforms in the spacecraft suddenly changed their expressions at this moment. They all thought that the inspectors in this exploration ship were similar to the Earthling women in that they were also delicate in mind, so in the Asta Empire, many of the inspectors on the battleships are women. How is it possible? Check the attack level for me, and analyze it to see where they belong. The old commander in the exploration ship frowned slightly at this time. He didn't quite believe it. How could he be attacked in this remote starry sky? He couldn't imagine what the enemy was. Report. The enemy's attack level is not very powerful, but through heat source analysis, their attack mode and model are actually weapons of the Rulan Empire. The surveying and mapping data quickly revealed that after all, the attack by the Earth spaceship could not have concealed the detection equipment of this powerful exploration ship. It's actually the Rulan Empire? Did their exploration ship arrive before us? Defend. At the same time, be prepared to meet the enemy. These attacks must be their greetings to us. Not long after, the huge figure of the exploration ship slowed down its forward speed. At this time, a wave of energy was revealed from the surface of the ship's body, covering the entire battleship. The attacks fired by the Earth spacecraft are all of the space mine type. This is the most primitive attack. Originally, in alien wars, these mines were ambushed in the vacuum, waiting for other people's warships to hit them. However, the quality of the mines made by the Earth is not up to standard, and they will definitely be discovered even if they are hidden in the vacuum, so they have no choice but to choose to attack as a melee. They flew extremely slowly and slowly approached the huge exploration ship. After bright flashes of light exploded in the universe, and the fiery explosion energy caused the space to tremble. Even though they are primitive things, they are still things in space warfare. It is absolutely terrifying for so many minds to explode together. Well done. On the Earthling side, everyone looked at the clusters of sparks that were shining like battleship farts on the body of the 10-kilometer battleship. Even though they knew they could not cause any harm to the enemy, they still celebrated each other. The people of the Rulan Empire are too arrogant. They actually attack with such primitive weapons. But we can't be careless. We don't know what preparations they have waiting here. Slow down the speed and be prepared for the possible enemy. They are definitely the Rulan Empire exploration ship we encountered hundreds of years ago is of the same level as us. In the Asta exploration ship, there was a look of vigilance on the old face of the commander. The Rulan Empire and the Asta Empire have always been enemies. Although they are hostile to each other, they do not dare to underestimate each other's combat effectiveness. But how did this commander know that there was no Rulan Empire exploration ship here at all? Everything was an illusion created by the giant Mosquito Earth Alliance. 2 adults, is our plan successful? Can the so-called identification signals of those space mines be hidden from their eyes? Of course. You know, these signal transmitters were removed from the weapons of the Rulan Empire that were guaranteed to be fake. The 2 aliens looked at the Asta exploration ship over there and slowed down. While breathing a sigh of relief, they began to brag about their earthly subordinates. Yes, these so-called identification signals of mines were deliberately added by the Earth Alliance when making simple mines, and the raw materials came from the weapons of the Rulan Empire captured by Earth City during the Battle of Grey and Yellow Star. The signal is guaranteed to be fake. Even if it cannot withstand scrutiny, it is still a good choice to scare the Asta exploration ship now. Okay, let's continue the attack. On the Earth side, those spaceships began to appear one by one. As for the exploration ship, they saw some small ships approaching that looked like play toys to them. Although they looked down on them, they did not dare to be careless about the Rulan Empire and immediately stopped exploring. The speed of the ship. Stay serious. The more than 30 spaceships that appeared this time did not look very powerful, and there were no signals about the Rulan Empire on them. However, with the previous weapon attacks from the Rulan Empire, the inside of the exploration ship was preconceived. The weapons were treated as belongings to the Rulan Empire. Their flying speed was too slow. After the exploration ship stopped, the small cannons that poked out of the surface, the 20-meter level terrifying things, started to shine with light. Most of these flying spaceships were only about 20 meters long. But when the exploration ship saw them for the first time, they thought they were some secret weapons of the Rulan Empire. They didn't dare to use the cannons with a diameter of 20 meters. The giant cannon. The light shines. Violent energy shock waves splashed out in the vacuum. Almost every 20-meter class spaceship was taken care of by a giant cannon. The fire, which was as thick as 20 meters, reached outside their bodies almost instantly and engulfed these spaceships one by one. There are constant sights of small spaceships exploding in the starry sky. They are simply no match for a giant cannon. What's going on? Isn't this something from the Rulan Empire? Inside the exploration ship, everyone looked at the scenery behind with some surprise. They saw that all the small spacecrafts that came to attack disappeared without any surprises. And judging from their strength, there might be some aliens. The toy spaceships played by rich young men were all more powerful than these spaceships, and the members of the exploration ship were all amazed. Don't let your guard down. The cunningness of the people of the Rulan Empire is nothing like their love for gorgeous characters. I know they must have some dirty tricks. Continue to slow down, be fully prepared, and slowly approach the Earth. Let their ambush be in vain. The exploration ship slowed down and began to prepare for the possible appearance of the Rulan Empire. Just after they left for a long time and definitely left the ranging range. In the starry sky, those things that originally looked no different from ordinary interstellar matter began to move. In order not to be discovered, the spaceships that had almost cut off all energy sources lit up the flames of their engines one after another. Very good, our first step plan was very successful. The next step is to follow up, and then trigger the second part of the plan, the third part of the plan. In the spaceship, there were the voices of the two alien scholars. In this case, we can buy some more time on Earth. Regarding the general mobilization of the Earth, the people of the Earth did not have much backlash, but those talented people with brainwave power felt some extremely shocked feelings at this time. They all thought that they would be trained for a long time. Time will be sent to the battlefield, but they did not expect that they would also be mobilized urgently. The talent who has been training for the longest time has only been training for no more than 8 months. The most powerful among them is also far away from the lowest level of strong, that is, the Earth level strong. To other civilizations, such strong are just like babies in their infancy. May be released to join the battle. But the Earth can't wait any longer. They were warned and rushed to each post. At such a tense time, every Earthling seems to have regained the feeling of being saved by the giant Mosquito clan from the hands of the metal monster. At that time, they worked extremely hard, working hard for the future survival of the entire Earth. This is when they burst out with motivation again. The giant Mosquito Earth Alliance once again issued a recruitment order from all over the world. Huge war logistics equipment has begun construction, and each fortification has a huge progress task. Even the disabled have their own positions. Boom boom boom. One after another, strange vehicles seem to be oil-powered, but they don't seem to be. In short, they are also a kind of equipment with a lot of exhaust gas. It's not that the Alliance can't build better vehicles, but those processes are more complicated, and the Earth's fortifications are according to the understanding of ordinary scientists, these ancient oil and gas power are more suitable, so that a large number of such vehicles are still in use. Each of these cars is 5 or 6 meters high. They seem to be large trains. Their performance is much better than those trains. Even if they go over high mountains, they don't need roads. These cars roar throughout the Earth, transporting humans to various positions quickly. Supplies are also transported through such vehicles. Some of the more important supplies are transported quickly in the air by some newly developed aircraft that incorporate alien technology. Everyone on Earth is familiar with today's technology. The only thing that worries them is the upcoming war. Is not equal to meow is not equal to buy is not equal to GE is not equal to. With the help of the adults of the giant Mosquito clan, we Earthlings are about to live a good life, and may even embark on the road to the stars. But this abominable Asta Empire actually wants to subvert everything we Earthlings have. Extremely abominable. All human beings on Earth, please stand up. Even if we are just a screw in this era, we must make our own efforts for the resistance, even if it is for future generations, we must work hard. Otherwise, we will be put in front of us. Yes, it is the future of national subjugation and genocide. Work hard for 1 minute today, and you will lose 1 liter of blood tomorrow. Everyone must work hard. Similar remarks are everywhere on the earth. On the radio, on the television, and in those passionate young people giving speeches on the streets, they are all agitating crazily. Some of these declarations were arranged by the giant Mosquito Earth Alliance, but most of them were made by the people of Earth themselves. They don't know what the so-called Oster Empire is, let alone what a terrifying and huge force this starry sky civilization is. They only know that the people on Earth are now on a path of vigorous development. Even because of the support of Lord Giant Mosquito, traces of the race will soon be spread throughout the solar system, and may even develop into other galaxies. But the so-called Osta Empire not only used evil metal monsters to almost wipe out the Earth's people from the Earth before, but now it has actually sent huge warships to destroy the Earth again. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 519. Everyone on Earth is excited and vows to drive back the Osta people, this extremely powerful enemy, under the leadership of the great giant mosquito clan. But what they didn't know was that what was coming here was just an exploration ship that was basically kept by the Osta people. If the real Osta Empire came with troops to attack, their beloved assassin might be in trouble. He was the first to escape with his family. Here on Earth, humans who have been cultivated for a long time suddenly burst out with enthusiasm for work again. Even after a few months of supplementary knowledge, their work efficiency and what they can do have become more. In fact, these 8 months of such relaxed management of the people on Earth was never what the giant Mosquito Earth Alliance wanted to do. During these 8 months, they guided all people on Earth to accept new knowledge and new knowledge. Although there are some ways of thinking that allow people on Earth to relax, their real intention has always been to prepare for the present. They have more powerful work capabilities and can operate more advanced machinery. And at the same time, an extremely huge monster, already silent, traveled alone through the distant starry sky and came to this beautiful blue planet. After about 19 days, Jia Yan returned from Mars. Compared with 8 months ago, his huge body has grown by about 1 meter. This is not caused by mutation, but because some mysterious substances on Mars have strengthened his body. Compared with the enhancement of his body, his strength has also been somewhat strengthened. Although it cannot be compared with a complete mutation, after all, it has been so long. Let alone the strengthening of the body, just talk about his constant self-recollection of previous battles, and learning more battle records and books has slightly raised his combat effectiveness to a new level. Sir, please come this way. When Jia Yan quietly returned to the Shanghai Alliance headquarters, he saw a subordinate suspended in the sky, already standing proudly in the air, leading the mosquito in one direction. After a year of continuous transformation, Shanghai City has almost become the core area of the giant Mosquito Earth Alliance. It has a large number of troops here, and the huge ropeway leading to the sky is like a rattan with no end. From here it extends into the starry sky. This place is definitely the place where the current technological and military power of the people on Earth is the most powerful. Most places in the city have become important areas for the Alliance, and the residents are basically non-existent. The previous reforms were too thorough. This huge city now seems to have become a science fiction city, with layers of buildings creating an unparalleled military city here. Machines are cleaning the roads on the ground. The roads are layer by layer, leading to each direction. At the same time, there are suspended speeding cars coming and going in the air. This place is not only a huge military fortress, but also a terrifying factory. Many weapons are also produced in the city. Jia Yan can no longer distinguish any traces of his former school in Shanghai. Not only his former school, but also the places where he fought before are no longer traceable. Seeing the changes in the entire city, Jia Yan felt a little disappointed and couldn't explain the feeling. Sir, ahead is the Superpower Academy. Those children are currently undergoing emergency training on some combat machinery. The four-eyed monster floating in front of Jia Yan pointed his arm, causing Jia Yan to notice a large area in front of Shanghai City. At this time, there were young and immature faces, surrounding some machines, studying hard. Some of those machines were weird things that Jia Yan had seen for the first time, such as robots that were 15 or 6 meters high. Each of these robots looked like something from science fiction movies from the past. Mecha may be in line with the aesthetics of Earthlings and has a certain degree of practicality, so the alien scientists in Earth City designed this weapon to look like a mecha. Every student was excitedly operating the mecha. There is also a large area where 3 small spaceships are parked, and some students are also training there. Is it too late for their training now? If they cannot catch up with the war, or even if they participate in the war, they die due to lack of training, then it is better to exclude them from the battle order. Jia Yan asked gently. The four-eyed monster was startled and murmured in his heart, excluding them, who can we rely on to defend the earth? Just rely on the 10 of us? I really can't do that. However, he still didn't say that. Perhaps he knew that Mr. Mosquito always had a good impression of the people on Earth and was even overprotective, so he explained directly at this time. These students have been practicing with those prototypes during their 8 months of study, so I think they have the ability to do actual combat now. But as you know, adults, participating in combat for the first time is always different from practicing, so the casualties are inevitable. I will try my best not to waste their lives. Jia Yan was silent for a moment, and then said, that's good. Naturally, the arrival of the giant mosquito cannot be hidden from the eyes of the humans below. The earthly soldiers and the children from the Superpower Academy all had bright eyes when they saw this legendary savior of the earth. He is also the current supreme leader of the giant mosquito Earth Alliance. Lord Assassin. I finally saw the real assassin for once, but is he wearing armor? He has become more handsome. The assassin is definitely a master who is extremely powerful. When he faced the metal monster, he didn't even wear armor, but now he wears armor. It shows how terrifying the enemies in the future are. It seems we should be careful too. One by one, the Earth soldiers and the children felt as if they had been given a shot in the arm by the arrival of the giant mosquito. After all, the crisis warning has been started for a long time. People on Earth have not found any trace of the big mosquito before. This makes some people guess whether the big mosquito has abandoned them. Fortunately, the big mosquito has now appeared, which finally makes people feel a little excited. However, among the huge population of these trainers, there will also be some different psychology. At the training ground for a group of soldiers, a middle-aged man who was not young but very agile, wearing the newly developed individual soldier enhancement equipment, flew along a large section of the cliff in the training area for more than 30 meters. Distance and rolled onto the road on the other side, drawing a round of applause. However, this middle-aged man did not pay much attention to the applause of his comrades. Instead, at this moment, he looked at the huge body flying slowly in the sky. Giant mosquito. There was a sparkle in this man's eyes, but it quickly disappeared into his heart. On the other side, there is a man who looks extremely thick and strong, who is currently piloting everything in the learner's spacecraft. You are very good. You actually ranked among the top 20 in the driver test among all the people on Earth. However, I always have a vague feeling that your strength should be more than this. I hope you will work hard next time and bring out all your abilities. Try to get first place. Yes. The stout man responded loudly. But when the instructor left, the man smiled faintly. All the strength. If he used all his strength, all those pilots would be outmatched by his ability, and he wouldn't be able to possess even a hint of backhand power. Oh, the giant mosquito will come too. When the giant mosquito returned and no one on Earth noticed it, the man had already raised his head. His eyes looked to the sky with shining eyes. This man has a nickname, in the military, which is Yahoo, a wild tiger as strong as a wild tiger. Haha, what happens next will be interesting soon. I have already mastered your weaknesses, and I also have a plan of action. I believe this matter will have some impact on you. The corners of the Manchurian wild tiger's raised mouth faded away. If Jia Yan saw the two men in front of him, he would know that the two men on the other side were the characters with whom he had been entangled before he became stronger. One was called an addict, and the other was called a northeastern wild tiger. Because they have a bad relationship with the giant mosquitoes, they feel that they can no longer stay on the earth where the giant mosquitoes almost cover the sky with one hand, so now they are trying their best to think of something. But the weak are the weak. Even if these two are the strongest among the people on earth, and may even be the strongest today, they are just two ants to the big mosquito. I just don't know what their plan is. Is it really possible to pry a corner of the powerful starry sky level veil of big mosquito? Of course, the emergence of the big mosquito is not only due to these people with ulterior motives, but also those who have an incomparable longing for the big mosquito. For example, there is a big fat guy from the continent of Europa. Although he may be a little older and even a little fatter, he is very good with a firearm and even a mecha. His nickname is Fat Hero. It is said that this fat hero is also an extremely famous figure on the continent of Europa and has saved many lives. There is another man in his 30s named Fan Hafei. This man used to be an ordinary worker in Shanghai City, but when the metal monster hazard occurred, he resolutely joined the ranks of soldiers. Now he was supposed to be discharged from the army, but because of his brainwave power talent, he enlisted in the army again. Son, Dad bought you the most delicious cake in Shanghai and will send it to you tomorrow. Facing the fat boy on the other side of the video, Fan Hafei spoke dotingly, with a smile on his face. In the 10 years since the danger of metal monsters occurred, although he finally left the army, he survived by relying on the combat skills he learned and found a wife in the settlement. The only pity is that my son, who has just turned 5 years old, has never tasted any delicious food before, so he can only live a life of hunger and satiety. Now that the world is getting better, he has also passed the brainwave power test, and his salary is not low, so he is now able to buy a lot of delicious food for his son. Dad, you must be very handsome flying a fighter plane. I told the kids in kindergarten that my dad is a fighter pilot, and they all envy me. The fat boy opposite had the same silly smile as his father. Haha, next time Dad gets a big military medal, it will make your friends envy you even more. Dad, when will you teach me how to play that alliance fighting game next time? I heard that Dad used games to exercise your brainwave power. I want to exercise my brainwave power like Dad. Ahem, well, Dad just likes to have fun, and he has to hang up during training. Under the influence of the big mosquito, a man or woman whom I knew or didn't know has become a figure in various industries. The only thing that stands out is that they have all changed their previous lives because of the appearance of the big mosquito. Maybe not everyone in this issue agrees with such a change, but no matter what, the big mosquito appears like this, and even occupies an absolutely huge position in the hearts of everyone on Earth. The media once again focused their attention on the large mosquitoes that appeared in large numbers. He has disappeared for nearly half a year, and now he appears at this time. This does not mean that the position of the big mosquito in the hearts of the people on Earth has weakened, or even become stronger. And the big mosquito that appeared at this time is definitely not here to play. He will definitely appear at this time and make a huge change. As expected. The day after the giant mosquito appeared, all major media outlets received an invitation to a press conference from the Giant Mosquito Earth Alliance. When all the reporters came to Shanghai, which had become extremely martial law, they found that not only them, but also some of the military forces around Shanghai had sent representatives, as well as those students who had received training in brainwave power. And a famous pilot were all summoned at this time. In the newly opened square in Shanghai, a huge crowd, numbering at least 200,000, was waiting quietly here. What a grand scene! Some media looked at this scene, and all of them were speechless, because not only humans, but also those spaceships, even mechas, speeding cars, etc., many kinds of things are there, appeared in the square. People were not kept waiting long. There was a sudden commotion on the ground. It turned out that a burst of black flew over everyone's heads. When everyone looked up and watched, they were all so shocked that they were almost speechless. It turned out that above everyone's heads, huge behemoths were flying and appearing. They covered the sky and the sun and came to the sky above the square. The giant Mosquito clan. The media were also a little frightened, and then they were ecstatic. Cameras were aimed at the monsters above their heads. You know, even though the giant Mosquito clan is called the giant Mosquito clan, the images of them appearing together in front of the camera, not to say less, never appeared at all. Although there are 3 or 4 fewer giant mosquitoes above everyone's heads this time, it is definitely the most complete one this year. How could this not make the media on Earth extremely excited? This piece of information alone can attract the attention of a blockbuster movie, not to mention there will definitely be even bigger news later. The creatures that came were indeed Jia Yan and his group of powerful Earth City men. 2 extremely terrifying heaven-level peaks. As well as the other 4 powerful men of the same heaven level, the remaining few are either on combat missions in the starry sky, or they are really unable to come over. But these huge and powerful men are definitely enough to suppress the situation. Boom boom boom. Along with the extremely powerful wind pressure, everyone in the square, including 200,000 soldiers and media, felt their ears roaring and pain. After waiting for the wind pressure to pass, they only saw that the entire area in the square was occupied by several small mountain-like figures. The originally spacious square was about 1 kilometer long and wide, but when it was occupied by so many humans and monsters, it seemed crowded. Thank you to all the media and heads of state for coming. Before anyone else could be shocked by the grandeur of the scene, the giant mosquito standing proudly at the front of all the monsters softly spoke with the power of his brainwaves. His voice is full of magnetism and very beautiful. It can be said that he definitely has the quality of being beautiful. However, everyone still did not pay attention to his tone. You must know that this is the assassin speaking. Everyone has forgotten the voice, but is interested in being able to hear the voice of this extremely powerful giant mosquito with their own ears. Feels excited and uplifted. Lord Assassin! Lord Assassin! A large number of humans made earth-shattering roars at this time, seeming to be extremely excited about the gentle and elegant posture of the big mosquito. Jia Yan shook his head gently. He didn't experience this kind of thing much, but sometimes, similar things were extremely effective for morale. He didn't have much idea of procrastination, but at this moment, he directly stated his purpose of organizing this press conference and the military gathering. The purpose of calling everyone here today is for nothing else, but for the powerful enemy that is coming, which is also the Asta Empire fleet that I mentioned a year ago. Is not equal to Miao is not equal to Bai is not equal to GE is not equal to. Our Earth is a peace-loving planet, but if they want to attack the Earth, they will have to pay the price in blood. To fight against them, the Earth's own armed forces are indispensable. So I hereby announce that the Earth fleet has been established. Wow! One word stirred up 1,000 waves, and every human being who heard this word either showed an expression that they had known this before, or showed an expression of extreme shock. There are also some people who are extremely angry. It seems that the giant mosquito clan just wants the people on Earth to work for them at this time. But no matter what kind of expression or what kind of thoughts, they can't stop the formation of Earth's first and only space fleet. This newly established fleet is composed of the students and pilots present, and it will also be named after the first fleet. The new book Super Evolutionary Mutation is asking for recommendations and collections. Please post your recommendations there, thank you. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 520. Remember Yan Mail sign divided by in 1 second, and read wonderful novels for free without pop-ups. The first fleet will be the first fleet that the Earth fights against the enemy. There will be a second and third fleet in the future. Until we completely drive all invading enemies out of our home in the solar system. Jia Yan spoke passionately, but he secretly changed a concept here, that is, the people on Earth do not regard the Earth as their own family, but include the entire solar system. Even vaguely, he positioned himself as a member of the Earth. But at this time, no one would ask questions, and even if someone wanted to ask, they would not dare. Ouch! Get out of the solar system. The solar system belongs to us people on Earth. Suddenly, a chorus of responses spread throughout the square. The Earth's first fleet was born. Jia Yan accomplished a lot in this big rally, and this rally was described as a military parade by the outside world. Although the Alliance did not admit it, it did not deny it, because people thought so. After all, in the square, there are gathered the most powerful weapons of the giant Mosquito Earth Alliance, as well as the most powerful soldiers and future arms. All the signs are very similar to the previous military parades of the Earth countries. In this military parade, Jia Yan not only positioned the Earth's defense, but also positioned the solar system's ownership. Before this, how could anyone on Earth say, the solar system belongs to us? But since the big mosquito has said this, people on Earth will naturally not deny it. Moreover, it is a matter of greatly increasing the territory of people on Earth, so people are even less likely to refuse. Moreover, Big Mosquito seems to have given himself and his subordinates a position in this speech, that is, they attribute themselves to the local forces of the giant Mosquito Earth Alliance. Although it was always like this before, after speaking out directly, the close relationship between the people on Earth and the giant mosquito family seems to be even closer. The Earth Alliance has begun another effort with varying dates. Compared to the last time when I was so poor, this time is very different. Really hard work has become rarer, and most of them still operate various machines, and some mental work has also become more important. There are more and more people on Earth who can repair machinery. After all, those high-tech items from extraterrestrials may be extremely high-tech, but after being simplified and trained, people on Earth may not be able to understand them. Therefore, when there are more maintenance workers and even construction workers, similar work liberated the alien scientists in Earth City. They can conduct more rigorous scientific experiments and further improve some products. Everything is unfolding in full swing. 3 days later, the first batch of Earth battleships will take off with me to attack the enemy. Finally, on this day, Big Mosquito gave a speech on television and carried out some pre-war mobilization. There wasn't much difference in the speech. Jia Yan didn't know if he was used to similar work. He just felt that there was a lot of hypocrisy and he was very tired. As a creature that fights for a living, the work he is doing now, he always feels that it is not suitable for him, and even feels that at this time, as the #1 strong man, he should not be doing these things. But he has no choice but to do it. There are certain things that once he reaches this status, he is destined to be unable to escape. Early morning came, and some sparse drizzle fell in the air. Jia Yan flew gently in the air. The black haze appeared again in the sky, making the air not very comfortable. Although it was not unacceptable to the big mosquitoes, his mood was just like this haze, a little depressed and gloomy. Arriving at that familiar small mountain village, oh, I shouldn't say it's a small mountain village, but return to the city. In the distance, there is a hilltop standing in the center of the city. A large number of houses seem to be built to guard the hilltop. The lights are bright, but all the houses are some distance away from the hilltop, which seems to highlight the status of the hilltop. Jia Yan heard the laughter and laughter among them. At this moment, he suddenly didn't want to get close to his family so much because he was a little confused. When he was on the Grey Star, he always wanted to return to Earth, and when he was still a little mosquito, he always wanted to see his family. But now that he has all this, he always feels that there is some gap between what he expected. And he even felt that the emptiness in his heart was faintly increasing. Jia Yan just stood there, standing in the hazy air, letting the haze cover his body. Mom, Uncle is here. Suddenly, Jia Yan found the voice of an immature little girl making a long scream in a house on the top of the mountain. He was startled. This voice was too familiar to him. It was the voice of his little niece, Kikai, whom he had not seen for half a year. Can she find herself? Jia Yan was startled, and then he suddenly realized and laughed at himself, because he knew that his cover-up was only to cover up the eyes of half of the people on the earth, and in a dazed state, Kikai, who had the power of brain waves, could detect him. It's not that strange. Now that I've discovered it, let's go down and meet him. After 3 days, I don't know how long it will take to see him again. The giant mosquito moved its wings and whizzed away below the clouds. Uncle! Uncle, you are here. Unexpectedly, little Kikai has not forgotten his giant mosquito uncle whom he has not seen for half a year. Jia Yan just flew over the house, and his petite and exquisite body jumped out of the house like the wind. She was wearing gorgeous clothes like a little princess. You must know that this is the giant mosquito family. Although some giant mosquitoes are playing house, how could the high-level people on Earth not pay attention to it? Kikik. Uncle throws gao gao, Uncle throws gao gao. Kikai's face was flushed with excitement, and her impression of Jia Yan was that this uncle would play the game of throwing high with her. And after only half a year, she spoke much more fluently, like a 5 or 6-year-old girl. In fact, she is only over 3 years old. Okay, throw Jio Jio. Even though Jia Yan was in a bad mood, he must have become happy when he saw such a cute little niece. Without saying a word, he used the power of his brain waves to gently throw Kikai into the air. Giggle, giggle, the little girl laughed happily, and the clear and cute laughter spread throughout the hilltop, making people smile knowingly. The haze in Jia Yan's heart completely subsided at this time. No matter how he felt that his family was his family, and it could not be changed no matter what. Uncle. Just when Jia Yan wanted to put Kikai down to stop her from getting too excited, he heard Kikai yell. Jia Yan was startled. He found that a small, almost imperceptible brainwave power began to emanate from his brainwave power. This is. While Jia Yan was observing, Kikai's brainwave power quietly increased, and then she felt a little awkward holding her body. But the moment Jia Yan's brainwave power relaxed, Kikai couldn't control the brainwave power to support herself, and fell from the air with a panic scream. However, it was impossible for her to be injured in front of Jia Yan, and soon Jia Yan's brainwave power lifted her up again. Kikai, tell Uncle, where did you learn how to control your brainwave power? My uncle taught me a very big lesson. Kikai hesitated, saying that her little mouth was still as clumsy as a baby should be, and she couldn't explain why. Master Carry taught her, someone responded immediately from behind. Jia Yan looked around and saw that it was a young man wearing glasses, his brother-in-law whom other Jia family members called Xiao Yao. Jia Yan has always had a bad attitude towards this guy, and it's almost the same at this time. He didn't respond, but just nodded. It turns out it's him. This guy did these things after work without telling me, so he has good intentions. Seeing that the big mosquito refused to pay attention to him, the man wearing glasses was asking for trouble. Looking helplessly at Jiolin behind her, covering her mouth and snickering, She shrugged her shoulders. Kikai, don't throw Gao Gao by yourself in the future. It's very dangerous, you know, Jia Yan did not forget to remind Kikai. He was still a little surprised at the speed of little Kikai's progress. You must know that if her control skills were better now, she would really be able to control her body to fly. Although she is not heavy herself, she is already close to the level of an Earth-level powerhouse. You know, she has only learned brainwave power for less than a year. Although compared with the powerful speed of Big Mosquito before, it is far behind, but this level of speed is not bad among alien brainwave powerhouses, let alone such a small child. Could it be that Kikai still has the qualifications to be promoted to a heaven-level expert in the future? Thinking of this, Jia Yan was almost a little shocked. Earthlings are a race that has not yet been genetically modified. The possibility of a brainwave-type heaven-level powerhouse suddenly appearing is almost impossible. Even among aliens, it is necessary to at least several generations of genetic tuning will be possible. Could it be my influence in the past? This is impossible. Xiaolin was not pregnant with Kikai at that time. If I want to influence her, she must be influenced by me first. However, Xiaolin has not shown any brainwave power until now. Talent. After thinking for a long time, Jia Yan didn't find anything unusual, so he had to blame it all on a small probability event. All in all, brainwaves are powerful, which is a good thing, not a bad thing. After personally teaching Kikai some things, Jia Yan was even more surprised when he discovered that Jia Qi's face was as rosy as his younger sister Jia Lin, and she had a cute apple face. She seemed to be really talented. Her talent is really good, but it's a pity that she is short of manpower. When the Earth City fleet comes, we must send a special brainwave power teacher to teach her. Because of Jia Qi, Jia Yan's mood became better. Some things, no matter how much you think about them, cannot change the status quo, so Jia Yan has no choice at all. Instead of suffering himself, it is better to stop. And he has already intervened in matters on Earth to this extent. If he doesn't want to do it, wouldn't all his previous hard work be in vain? After thinking about this, Jia Yan finally thought a little more openly after talking with his family. One night can't change much, so Jia Yan doesn't know if he really figured things out, but his mood improved and he returned to Shanghai again. Compared with the tranquility of Return City, the Shanghai market is covered with war clouds. Every staff member and every soldier who comes here has a stern face. Some of them are slightly worried about the future space war, and some are worried about it. Full of expectations. But no matter what, everyone was infected by an unprecedented war atmosphere. Everyone was gearing up and eager to start a battle with the so-called Asta people who had never seen them before. The major media outlets on Earth have begun to publicize the war that the people of Earth will have with the Asta people. They took out the images of the Asta people drawn by several creatures from Earth City and explained them. In fact, the simple Asta people are similar to the people on Earth. Some people on Earth even joke that the giant mosquito monsters are like an alien invading race, while the Asta people are like distant relatives of the Earth people who separated hundreds of thousands of years ago. However, these remarks were severely criticized by almost everyone. The Earth cannot tolerate any anti-war speeches, nor can it tolerate any different speeches. The only main theme is war. It's not that Jia Yan doesn't want the Earth to endure a better life, but he can't do it. Can peace come without defeating the Asta people? In the case of disproportionate strength, this is simply impossible. All preparations are in emergency mode and have been further accelerated. Finally, 3 days passed quickly. On this day, every media outlet on the planet, not one of them, was paying attention to the Shanghai Stock Exchange. Everyone is paying attention to the current situation of the Earth. Each and every media person, carrying their own machines, got lost in the extremely grand road infrastructure facilities in Shanghai, but they still ran. Continuously conducting interviews with combat units one by one. Today is the moment for the entire world to pay attention to the 3 billion people in the world. It has been a long absence for a year. The Earth fleet, which has just been established for a few days, is about to launch. Boom boom boom. Countless roars like huge waves resounded in Shanghai city. Listen, everyone, those are the footsteps of mecha warriors. It is said that those who drive mechas are young and strong men with A-level physical fitness. Some of them even have brainwave power talents. These mechas will be our giant Mosquito Earth Alliance's attack team against the enemy. There are also those students lining up. We are the children of the Superpower Academy. These children are the real talents of us people on Earth. Each of them is a brainwave powerhouse that far exceeds the average person. Now they under the watchful eyes of all the people on Earth, we must use our young bodies to enter the universe and resist the enemy. Let us pray for these young people. There are media voices like this everywhere in Shanghai. Nowadays, almost every direction in Shanghai is filled with similar scenes. These media professionals with special access can see materials that can be reported almost everywhere, even in those high-tech grounds are worthy of their study. Compared with before the metal monster crisis, the population of Shanghai has become smaller. Now it is only around 5 million. However, all of these 5 million people are serving the war, mostly logistics personnel, and the combat team may have 2 million people. About. This is the most cutting-edge and most powerful military presence on Earth. The Earth has not relaxed at all in this year, because the problem of hunger has been solved, and the entire Earth has continued to recruit troops and reserve troops. It went well. 3 billion people. If fully mobilized, the combat strength would reach a terrifying 500 million. You know, this is more than 10 to 1, which is simply exaggerated and terrifying. Sir. Commander of the First Fleet, Carrie reports to you. A huge monster came to Jiayan. This is one of the heaven-level experts led by Jiayan, the same heaven-level expert who has been teaching Kikai before. As Kikai said, this guy has a huge body. He may reach about 25 meters. His height is only slightly smaller than Jiayan's height. Of course, if it's just a comparison of visual effects, then Jiayan, who has slender 6 legs and huge wings, is definitely much more exaggerated than his opponent. This Carrie is the commander-in-chief of the First Fleet appointed by Jiayan, because among the 10 monsters, including Jiayan, only this monster has some experience in space battles. He was still a small boy in a certain star pirate organization. The experience of the leader. However, he is taller than a short man. Nowadays, it is difficult to find talents, so Jiayan has no choice but to let him take on such an important task. Very good, I hope you won't defeat the Earth's First Fleet until it is completely annihilated. Jiayan said lightly, making the other party feel a chill. Perhaps the people on Earth would think that these 10 monsters are the most trustworthy and unique subordinates of Big Mosquito, but they themselves know that among the members of Earth City, they are just guys with some special skills, so for Big Mosquito mosquitoes, they still want to do their best to express their strengths, and their future status will be reflected. Sir, I will not let you down. Today, these members began to use their Master Assassin's command to speak Chinese. When they communicated one by one, they all began to use Chinese. Okay, let's start now. Before long, the bustle seemed to be over. Without any declaration of departure, without any farewell to relatives and friends, the Earth's first space fleet, just like this, in the eyes of countless media and people on Earth in front of countless TV sets, slowly began to take action. Bang! The first person to rise was Jiayan, who was wearing dark metal armor. His body is huge, but the Earth battleships following behind him are even bigger monsters. Each of these battleships is an improved version of the basic spacecraft 8 months ago. The scientists not only made them more suitable for the combat effectiveness of the people on Earth, but also added many artillery systems obtained from the metal monsters into them. Their bodies generally reach a length of more than 50 meters, and the largest one even reaches a length of 200 meters. This is not much different from the smallest battleships of those top civilizations. Bang 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 bang. One by one, the warships passed through the berthing ports and started launching into the sky. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 521. Warships belonging to the people of Earth. 400 of them. The light rising into the sky appears everywhere in the entire Shanghai city and in various bases on the Earth. Almost everyone on Earth can see these huge flying metal machines. They are a group of battleships belonging to the giant Mosquito Earth Alliance. It is also a pioneer of the future combat power of the Earth, and may even be the cornerstone of the Earth's future strength. The dots of flaming stars make all the people on Earth look like they are dreaming. Boom 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 boom. We have finally reached this point. We have suffered so much and done so many things we don't like for today. But finally all the hard work has paid off. The big Mosquito rode the wind straight into the sky, followed by a series of huge metal battleships. At first, there were only about 20 of these warships from Shanghai, but slowly, spaceships taking off from all directions on the Earth gathered behind Jiayan one by one, and they began to form a regular formation, as if the soldiers who followed the general were all high-spirited and extremely powerful. The war is about to begin, and the fighting spirit is boiling. Everyone listen to my orders. The battleships will go to the moon base first for assembly and integration. Jiayan issued a brainwave power command. Yes, the battleships in the rear all had smooth communication capabilities, and each one responded at this time. Whoosh whoosh. Under the jet of flames, the battleship flew high. Countless people on the entire Earth were observing this scene. Some people had tears in their eyes, while others were worried. However, at this time, it can be said that everyone is pleading with the Earth Alliance. Victory, because this is really related to the future destiny of the entire Earth. In the starry sky, battleships are flying in space with tail flames. Operator, see clearly the star road ahead and follow the assassin. Yes. Soldiers on the rear bridge, please don't gather at the observation deck as if you haven't seen the starry sky before. All return to their posts. Yes. Similar orders were issued from battleship to battleship. After all, this is the first time to go out. Although basically all pilots and brainwave talented warriors have taken a spaceship to the universe for training, there are not many such processes, so at this time, every Earth soldier is in at this time. I had many emotions about the mysterious starry sky. They know that in the future this mysterious starry sky will be the place where they can show off their talents. Once a general succeeds, all the Earth soldiers know that they may have to face death in the future. After all, that is an enemy that assassins must treat with caution. They have no idea whether the battleship they are driving can give them death. The assassin brings a slight threat, but that enemy can even threaten the assassin. These people are not fools. They know that their lives are not as safe as those instructors taught them. Before setting off, everyone wrote a suicide note and training experience, in order to give it to their relatives, friends, and future generations. They have long been determined to die. Among all battleships, there is one battleship that is unique. Because his driver is a strong human being with a powerful body. His ability even ranks among the top 20 among all drivers. But what makes him unique is not that kind of ranking, because pilots with similar rankings also appear in this starry sky. What really makes him different from others is that he is a pilot who is very familiar to Big Mosquito, Northeast Wild Tiger. It seems that this Big Mosquito can't distinguish my identity among so many people. The Siberian Wild Tiger skillfully operated the battleship. The battleship he was assigned to was a 100-meter class battleship. After all, he was a top student, so the battleship he operated was considered to be of a medium to upper class scale. If you are familiar with this powerful man on Earth, you will know that he is licking his lips at this time. This is an action he only makes when he wants to carry out some kind of strategy. I know the next process: go to the moon base, and then conduct a kernel, right? However, among all the warships, there must be a few that are on guard duty. While muttering to himself, inexplicable thoughts flashed across the face of the middle-aged man named Siberian Wild Tiger. He seemed to be thinking of something satisfying, and he even had a slight smile. Jia Yan didn't know that among the 400 warships he led, there was still one that was so clumsy. At this time, he was leading the way and had accelerated his speed to almost the limit, but the warships behind him were, it seems, more relaxed to still follow him. It seems that my flying ability is still a big shortcoming compared with a real spaceship. After all, this gap cannot be made up so easily. Thinking of this, Big Mosquito felt a little worried about the space battles he might encounter in the future. His combat ability was not that obvious in the universe, and the battleship he currently owned was simply not possible. The opponent of other civilization weapons. Although they are so passionate on Earth, in fact, what they are about to fight is not the main fleet of the Asta civilization at all, but a partial division of the Asta Empire that may have been forgotten. Even so, this opponent is not easily defeated. Jia Yan looked at the large force behind him. He was really a little depressed. If there was more time, the strength of the Earth fleet might be stronger. At least it would be impossible not to train too much. Jia Yan wants to do too much, but at this time, these are useless. The war is coming, and it is impossible for the Earth to have other choices at this time. We actually reached the moon so quickly. I remember that the ordinary spacecraft we took for training last time took 2 full days to reach the moon. This time it only took more than 4 hours. Ahead, a huge planet appeared in front of all the battleships, and an Earth soldier named on the bridge of the battleship let out a cry of surprise. Although they have always known the data of the battleship and even memorized it deep in their hearts, seeing it with their own eyes reaching the moon that humans could only look at in the distance but could not reach before, and at such a fast speed, they still had a dream-like illusion. Jia Yan did not give them much time to sigh. These things will become the norm on Earth in the future. The entire army began to land and made its own tactical preparations. Jia Yan personally gave the order. The drivers at the rear are all very green. Although they can collect data and perform simple operations with the help of the intelligent brain, their driving skills are not enough to face war and some emergencies. It is possible that they cannot use their brains, so Jia Yan will spend the next few days training their combat abilities while marching. At this moment, in a battleship, the pilot suddenly made an operational error. Yahoo! What's wrong with you? Even such a simple operation has problems. Didn't you do a good job in the academy? Sorry, this may be my first actual operation, so I am a little nervous. I wonder if the commander can let me serve as a warning warship during the exercise later. I will familiarize myself with the driving operation first. In a communication channel, an Earthling officer kept scolding the Siberian Wild Tiger who was driving a 100-meter warship, because this subordinate who had always performed well before actually almost committed a crime when the ship was parked. He made a huge mistake, causing the battleships to suffer accidents involving shipwrecks and fatalities. Okay, but you have to be careful and practice in a corner where no one is around. If a few adults see you looking so crappy, you won't be able to become a pilot. Get out. The officer was cursing, but it could be heard that he still valued this young man with good grades on campus. Yes, the Siberian Wild Tiger saluted the officer in front of the communication device with a military salute, but the corner of his mouth gently pulled out a smile that didn't look like he had escaped death. The lunar base is an outpost that the giant Mosquito Earth Alliance has worked hard to build over the past year. It is also the location of Earth's first alien city in the future. The lunar base at this time is, to put it bluntly, A huge city. Covering an area of more than 50 kilometers, even on the Earth, a small-scale shadow can be clearly seen with a telescope. However, the building area is not large. It is mostly a place for storing materials. The metals collected on the Earth and the Moon, as well as processed parts, etc., are all piled here. It can be said to be another important place on the Earth. What a military port! The original position of the Moon is a natural defense port for the Earth and a defensive port where the military can easily gather. Not only is it of extremely important strategic significance, it can also be an important spaceport necessary for the Earth to march into outer space in the future. The spaceport was able to withstand the arrival of the Earth fleet, which totaled about 100,000 people. There were Earthlings wearing spacesuits everywhere. Most of them had been to the Moon, so at this time, they were all following orders. Own work. Next is the first exercise of the Earth fleet. This exercise is extremely important. It is also the first time the Earth fleet formally tests its combat effectiveness. No one wants to make mistakes. Busy time passes extremely quickly, and people on Earth don't have much time to rest at all. 3 hours later. The exercise will begin immediately. All battleship personnel are in place. When the ground personnel were ready, on the lunar command post, a voice from the top leaders of the Earth spread throughout all the battleship command cabins. Following this sound, all the battleships began to take action. Each of these battleships is the crystallization of the sweat of everyone on the Earth. At this time, this exercise is also broadcast to the entire Earth. People on Earth cannot have enemy spies or communication methods. Jia Yan and others are very clear about this. So there is no need for them to hide. The Earth fleet showed its fangs for the first time to the people on Earth, which is also a way to increase everyone's confidence. Today and tomorrow, 2 exercises will be conducted. The first exercise is ours. The 400 battleships are the Red Army. The blue side is the 4 strong men of the giant Mosquito clan. The mission requirements are to hit the strong men as much as possible. The ammunition used in this exercise will be exercise ammunition. Adults will not attack, everyone can play freely. The purpose of the exercise is to allow all pilots and artillery operators to understand and become familiar with the combat process of the warship. Any mistakes in the process will not be tolerated. Those who make mistakes will be replaced by the reserve force immediately. Tomorrow's second exercise will be a battle between battleships, 200 versus 200. The winning side will form a vanguard, and each member will become an elite member of the Earth fleet. This concerns the future. During the battle, everyone has their own status in the military. We also ask for the careful participation of all participants. Now, the first drill begins. Countless cameras were aimed at all battleships, and cameras were even installed inside most battleships. However, among all the battleships, there was one that did not install these. It was not that the staff were negligent, but that at this time, the battleship flew far away. After several inquiries from the lunar base, the answer it is a warning function. When there was a problem with the photographic equipment, the other party's answer was that there was something wrong with the equipment's communication. This kind of thing would have been impossible in today's Earth fleet, but the exercise was right in front of them. The commanders knew that the warship was appointed by a senior executive to conduct operational training in an invisible place, so they allowed him to act on his own. However, the problem of communication equipment needs to be carefully checked after returning. After all, this is a big problem. Now that the exercise is imminent, there is no time to deal with these side issues. Yahoo, you did a good job. You were able to do these actions under the nose of such a terrifying giant mosquito. I have to say, you are too courageous. Next to the Siberian wild tiger, the pilot, is a man who looks quite old. This man seems to be invisible in the air. The dim light of the spacecraft gives his body a sense of transparency. Obviously this is an extremely powerful Earth powerhouse. Okay, senior addict, please stop praising me. Our life and death will depend on the next few hours. If we can accomplish those things, it will be a huge benefit. You can go over now and eliminate those irrelevant people. Leave the driving to me. The Siberian wild tiger looked presentable and was sitting in the driver's seat. He was wearing the driver's standard equipment. Fortunately, the basic physical qualities of the Earthlings and the Osterians were similar, so those researchers in the Earth City, and basically copied the data of the Osta people's spacecraft. Otherwise, if the researchers in Earth City were to make so many designs, they might not be able to complete it even if they were given another 10 years. The addict is different. He is wearing very technological equipment at this time, which does not match his somewhat old face. He has some strong temperament hidden in the darkness, and his aura is faintly weaker than that of the Northeast wild tiger. Are you sure you can control a 100-meter warship by yourself? You know, although the Alliance has designed a method for one person to control it, it is impossible for one person to do it now. Facing the drug addict's suspicion, the Siberian wild tiger smiled lightly. You must have understood who I am after so many years of contact. That potion almost killed me back then, but what I got now is a strange change in my body. Although I feel that it has peaked, but it is still possible to operate a battleship like this. If converted to the terms of giant mosquitoes and alien monsters, my physical body may have reached around the Earth level. It will be a little worse, but not much worse, you can rest assured. Well, I hope you're right. The addict glanced at the Siberian wild tiger, and its thin body gradually disappeared into nothingness in the dim light. Haha. This senior is getting older and older. But what I want is just his temporary help. My future is destined to go to the universe. The giant mosquito cannot tolerate me, so I will borrow their technology. Is heading into the universe. But this spaceship cannot lead to the universe. As far as I know, there may be a super spaceship in the Mosquito that may have the ability to fly in space. No. It must have it, otherwise how could they coming to Earth? I must get this spaceship. Thinking of the knowledge about cosmic civilization that he had secretly learned over the past year, the Siberian wild tiger's eyes became hot. He knew that he might be slightly different from ordinary Earthlings. If he went to the universe and found Shiyuan, maybe he could also accept the modulation of that kind of alien creature and become an extremely powerful creature. Ah! What are you doing? Suddenly, a slight scream came from the outside world. The Siberian wild tiger smelled the faint smell of blood in the battleship. Because the spacecraft was not actually in combat, the alert system was not turned on to the highest level. In addition, the Siberian wild tiger some operations of being a driver. It even took more than a month to gradually make some small moves on the battleship, so the screams at this time were not heard by other crew members. No one can send any signal to the lunar command. Degrees Celsius meow degrees Celsius by degrees Celsius GE degrees Celsius. Haha, kill, kill. What a beautiful sound. The outside world did not have any warning about this warship on the edge. After all, the Earth fleet was still in its infancy. Many regulations, military procedures and systems, and even restrictions on the rights of the driver alone, were not well established. It is a primitive thing, and a large-scale army is driven out like this. Naturally, it has a lot of loopholes. But before things are perfected, the saboteur of the Siberian wild tiger begins to exploit the loopholes. Military exercises were not affected. But at this time, it is still continuing. Number 1, number 5, and number 9 are several columns. You go towards Lord Assassin. Number 7 and number 11 go towards Lord Carry. Number 3, number 4. Dust is flying above the moon. There is no air on the moon, but the flames ejected from the spacecraft taking off make the entire moon surface full of dust. The exercise began in the unfamiliar environment of the moon under the spotlight of the Earth. Please subscribe to the original version. Subscriptions are down again, please subscribe. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 522. Rays of light flickered in the universe. These attacking lights are really powerful. Although they are for practice, if they attack those adults, they will definitely cause huge damage. Don't be kidding. This kind of light cannot cause any harm to an assassin, not even to an extremely heaven-level adult. You know, they are heaven-level. Do you know the meaning of heaven-level? In several battleships, Earthling soldiers were constantly discussing. In the current practice battle, they were only attacking on one side, and all the strong men in Earth City, including Jia Yan, were avoiding. The rays of light continued to flash near their bodies, but because the Earth fleet were all novices, simple attack methods were easily judged by them. Almost every ray of light could be avoided by these strong men in a short time. Is this how you train? I taught you every one of them in vain. Ship 253, you should have judged the time for me to dodge this attack. When you launched the attack, did you want to waste ammunition or did you attack mindlessly? Die. There are still 156 ships. If you can't judge the strength of the enemy, you dare to rush forward. If the assassin wanted to attack you, you would have died long ago. Remember, if you can't judge the strength of the enemy, you must not focusing on your own goals and jointly attacking with friendly ships is always the right way to go, do you understand? A creature that has reached the mid-level heaven level is constantly scolding while flying. Although this monster is only at the mid-level of the sky level, his strength is still extremely powerful. Although it cannot be compared with the other two powerhouses at the peak of the sky level, at this time, the Earthlings, who are novices in battleships, seem to be unable to deal with him. Even sending a dozen warships could not defeat it. Moreover, this monster was the supreme commander of the Earth fleet appointed by Jia Yan. At this time, he saw that the Earth fleet that he had worked hard to train performed so poorly, and he immediately scolded him continuously. Yes. Therefore, no one on the Earth's warships dared to refute. After all, they themselves had their own judgments. They could no longer do the actions and tactical standards they could usually make in training. This not only shows that their tactical training is not in place, but also shows that they are not in good condition before the battle. But battleships are battleships after all. Although they are imitations of some low-level battleships made by the Earth City scientists, they can still be called real battleships. As the Earth's pilots gradually became familiar with the feeling of combat and their operations returned to the level of training, their flying methods became more flexible and precise. There was a battleship collision before, but it no longer happens. Huge flying fleets reaching tens of meters in height were overwhelming in the starry sky. A group of dozens or even 100 ships were chasing several powerful men. However, if a strong person is less than a star-level high-level stage, it is impossible to survive independently in the universe, let alone combat power. Not to mention fighting against a battleship that was originally built for fighting in the stars. Not long after, the top officer of the Earth fleet, the monster known to all Earthlings as Lord Carey, was hit by a drill attack weapon. The system immediately determined that Carey had left the field. Very good. In the lunar base, several Earth leaders cheered. Carey's departure showed that in a real combat environment, it was possible for so many of their warships to defeat a heaven-level warrior. This is the first time that people on Earth have obtained such weapons. It is also a kind of proof that people on Earth can use their own weapons to directly kill a great being that was previously considered impossible to defeat. It's a milestone achievement, of course. This result is achieved when the opponent does not attack or counterattack. If he counterattacks, the result is really hard to say. Very good, you did a good job. As long as you train hard and digest the gains from the exercise, about 10 battleships will be able to deal with me in the future. Carey was also somewhat satisfied and flew back to the moon base. But the other adults are not so easy to defeat. You must know that they are at the peak of the sky level. As for the assassin, let alone our current battleship, even if it is 10 times more powerful, there is probably nothing we can do against him. You know, he is a star, sky, level. How can people on Earth who have not reached the level of a strong person understand the greatness of a starry sky level? They even think that there is not much difference between a few strong adults, just like an ant sees that there is not much difference between humans and elephants. Bright lights in the sky interacted with each other, and they continued to impact, completely turning the vacuum not far from the moon into a battlefield. Some humans on Earth, while watching the live broadcast, also went out to look at the moon dotted with night colors in the sky. Even the naked eye can see the explosion of some of the lights, which shows how realistic the battle is at this time. I was hit. More than an hour passed, and the Earth fleet gradually stabilized its operations. He also had a certain grasp of the flight patterns of several powerful men, so under a premeditated volley, the four-eyed monster that had reached the peak of the sky level was hit. The other peak of the sky level is a guy with wings. His flying ability is already extremely strong, so even if another hour has passed, there is still no sign of being hit. Sir, my respiratory system is a little overwhelmed. I request to withdraw from the battle. The flying warrior sent out a communication at this time. Jia Yan was in a vacuum at this time, avoiding the more than 300 Earth warships behind him, but at this time, he was still calm and composed. You are allowed to withdraw from the battle, but after you go back, see if there is any way to increase the durability of the space battle, even if you attach more equipment. He issued the permission command. Yes. When this strong man also withdrew, Jia Yan was finally the only one left in the starry sky, facing the 400 warships of the entire Earth fleet. Each of these warships is like a fledgling tiger, facing the big Mosquito one by one, with a vague idea of bringing him down. You know, Jia Yan is now like a god in front of all the people on Earth, but now when the people on Earth find that the weapons they possess, or the weapons given by the giant Mosquito clan, can actually threaten the gods, their inner feelings, that kind of desire made them forget their fear and just wanted to completely destroy the myth. But they were faced with giant mosquitoes. It is a true starry sky level. Even in front of alien warships, Jia Yan can destroy them, but the combat capabilities of today's earthly warships simply cannot reach the combat effectiveness of alien warships. So their results are destined to be sad. It seems that the people on Earth are still the people on Earth that I know. Whenever they have the opportunity, they will think about going against the will of heaven, but I also want to teach them another lesson, that is, there are some things that cannot be done, just can't be done. Jia Yan knew that if he was not included in his side, the other three strong men might really be destroyed by the Earth fleet if they really encountered it. Moreover, it was possible that in the future, the Earth fleet would be familiar with the fighting methods. Adopting the plan of fighting and running, even he may have some headaches, but now they still cannot threaten him. Moreover, is the Jia Yan of today still the Jia Yan of Grey Star? No. After being strengthened by Mars and now wearing armor, his true combat effectiveness may have increased by more than 10%. The Mosquito's combat effectiveness is always improving. As an evolved beast, there is no limit to how much his fighting power can be improved. So Jia Yan himself doesn't even know where his current fighting limit is. The Earthling fleet is destined to return without success. The big Mosquito drew a straight horizontal line, and there seemed to be a completely black and strange speeding object in the vacuum, escaping toward the front. Behind them are earthly warships. What's going on? We can't lock down the assassin. His speed even exceeds my reaction speed, and the brain can't help capture him. The people on Earth finally know where their shortcomings are. Facing such a powerful person, even if the fire control system can face this big Mosquito, their brainwave power is not strong and they cannot effectively operate the system, so that the performance of the battleship cannot be unleashed. It is simply impossible to defeat this magnificent creature. The pursuit and escape in the air, and even Jia Yan's intersecting flight, almost caused a dozen warships of the Earth fleet to collide together. This performance lasted for 10 hours. In the next few hours, the Earth fleet was depleted and the more than 400 warships could no longer be pursued. However, orders continued to be conveyed from above, and the pilots had no choice but to fight. Be alert and attack the big Mosquito headlessly again and again. After consuming more than half of the energy reserves for the exercise, the order to end the exercise finally came. So tired. Faced with the attack of our entire fleet, Lord Assassin is just like teasing a child. Only now do I know how strong Lord Assassin is. The battleship pilots, as well as the Earth battleship soldiers in the fire control system and surveying and mapping system, all fell down from exhaustion. When the order to stop the exercise came, almost everyone stepped onto the ground of the battleship out of fatigue. Wrong. You don't know how strong the assassin is at all. Do you think this is all the assassin's strength? No. God knows if I tried my best. I didn't see that the battleships were about to collide with each other before, and he came to rescue him. It shows that he didn't try his best at all. The soldiers were simply stunned by the fighting ability of the giant Mosquito. Is this still something a living thing can do? One can even do so with ease against the Earth fleet that they already considered to be extremely terrifying. It is simply powerful and terrifying. Some people are extremely frightened, because such a powerful giant Mosquito needs the help of the Earthlings to attack the enemy. Is it possible that he is also so powerful? Thinking of this, all the soldiers felt a fear of war rising from the bottom of their hearts. But now that the matter has come to this, it is impossible for them to disobey the Alliance's orders. It's just that deep down in the hearts of all fleet members, they are wary of future enemies. Okay, the effect of this exercise is pretty good. Let the soldiers rest for a few hours. Next is the second exercise, and then they will start. Towards the battlefield. The big Mosquito looked at the Earth fleets that were already showing some signs of life with great satisfaction. In their actions, they no longer looked like rookies. After all, the basics have been laid down in the previous training. With these more than 10 hours of confrontation, there is more order between the advance and retreat of attacks, so the big Mosquito will not ask for more. Although they are still rookies, they are still a group of rookies who can fight. But just when Big Mosquito felt satisfied with the effect of the exercise, he was looking forward to the warship's mutual exercises tomorrow and getting more enhancements. Big. Sir, it's not good. Suddenly, as soon as the communicator that blocked low-level communications from the outside world was restored, a panicked voice was transmitted to Jia Yan through the communicator. Jia Yan is a little strange. Normally, his communicator rarely receives communication requests. Even if some major R/U0026D accident occurs, it is impossible to contact him. Is there anything bigger than a R/U0026D accident this time? Sir, there is something strange happening in Huiwai City. One of our warships seems to have mutinied and attacked Huiwai City before. What? Jia Yan only felt a huge shock in his head, as if there was a loud buzzing sound, and there was no pause at all after that. His huge body, originally intended to land on the moon, turned around. Impact towards the Earth. Tell me what's going on. Jia Yan was almost furious. At this moment, the terrible violence in his heart almost seemed to tear apart the strong man from Earth City opposite who was ordered to protect Return City through the communicator. Sir, Your Majesty. It's all the villain's fault. I'm only at the mid-level Earth level and can't defeat that battleship. So what? Jia Yan almost roared. They captured Princess Kikai. The other Geo family members were protected by the villain, so they did not succeed. What? You loser. Where are they now? Jia Yan simply wanted to kill this subordinate directly. There was almost a terrifying red light in those faint and forbidding compound eyes that was about to burst out. However, he still held back his anger. He admitted that he was careless. He had always thought that the Earth was absolutely safe. Not only was the government under his control, but it was impossible for a prefecture-level existence to appear on the Earth, so he thought that relying on a prefecture-level powerhouse with proficient construction abilities, he could protect his family and contribute to the city planning of the Earth at the same time, but he was wrong. Someone actually took advantage of the loopholes in the exercise and operated a battleship to attack the return city. That mid-level Earth-level strongman was able to save everyone except Kikai under that kind of attack, which was already considered a good job. Tell me, what's going on? The people at the moon base also reported to me, how could there be a defecting warship? This is simply unreasonable. Jia Yan opened up all contacts while flying, and he was about to start holding people accountable. Things go back to a few hours ago. Back in the city, everyone on Earth lives an extremely comfortable life. As people on Earth, our lives today are not much better than a year ago. Even though there are regular job recruitments from all over the world, food and clothing have long been solved for people on Earth. Those who come from alien cultivation technology, but even a planet like the Grey Star is covered with plants that are difficult to remove. As long as you find the preferences of the people on Earth, cultivate some edible plants, and increase the growth of animals, cultivation can definitely easily feed today's 3 billion people. Coupled with the development of bases such as the moon, housing prices on Earth, which had just restarted the currency system, not only did not increase, but even because of the development of bases on the moon and other places, housing prices on Earth became extremely low. Because people on Earth all think that in the future they can use their money to buy houses on other planets. For example, wouldn't it be more interesting to live in a Martian city? But the only place is Hawaii City. The housing prices here have basically maintained the highest price from the beginning after the currency system was restarted. The reason is that the Supreme Master of the Earth, the assassin of the giant Mosquito clan, often comes back to the city. You must know that there are not many opportunities to see the assassin frequently. What's more, there are rumors that the assassin will keep coming to the city because it has the biggest attachment of the giant Mosquito on the Earth, which is the Geo family that people have always mentioned in the rumors. This rumored family, for some unknown reason, actually calls the assassin a family member. But people on Earth know that approaching such a family is no different than approaching a giant mosquito. And the place where this family lives is not a treasure, so what is it? So land prices here are never low. However, everyone had always thought that the return city was very safe, but on the second day after the Earth fleet took off, it suffered an unbelievable disaster. A rebel warship from the Earth fleet actually arrived and launched an attack on the return city. The artillery system of the Earth fleet may be a very weak thing in the eyes of Big Mosquito or even other powerful aliens, but facing the people on Earth, it is simply a magic weapon. When the 100-meter class warship approached and the artillery fire was like a rain of fire, the people who returned to the city realized what they were doing. They all screamed in terror and fled in all directions. The threat of a battleship is too great. Fortunately, the city of return has a newly built defense system, and the battleship was damaged after several attacks. It made an emergency landing, and its target was the hilltop in the center of Hawaii City where the Geo family was rumored to be. The huge 100-meter class battleship landed outside the Geo family's new castle, which looked like a palace, covering almost the entire lawn. Geo family, follow me on the battleship, don't let me do anything. Please subscribe to the official version. I have been overchapping recently, and it will be a good place to read soon. Thank you. If you find errors in chapter content, please report it and we will fix it as soon as possible. For more exciting content, please pay attention to Novel Network's new domain name.